Everywhere I go, you know I got the cycle with me. And that's just how it go until my Lord and Savior get me. Y'all do know I'll always love you. Rest in peace to Whitney. My cousins got delivered, yeah, they used to push the brick. And I remember when I couldn't even spend a penny. Went from being nippy all the way to having plenty. Now everywhere I go, it's feeling just like Christmas, cause I have a girl. And I don't even know, but I just might take a trip to Nazareth.
Where we going, Phil?
Nazareth.
Nazareth?
Nazareth. Just got back from Nazareth.
Hey.
Got disciple with me like I just got back from Nazareth. Got disciple with me like I just got back from Nazareth.
Hey, where we going, Phil?
Nazareth.
Pipe up.
Nazareth.
Nazareth.
Nazareth. Just got back from Nazareth. Got disciple with me like I just got back from Nazareth. Got disciple with me like I just got back from Nazareth. Yeah, I got disciple with me. They know we be moving through the city. Got a whole team on the same they'll spray. Word to the enemy, you better not play. I ain't tryna hear nothing y'all tryna say. Got God in my heart, all in my x-ray. Straight from the barn, I came a long way from chopping that hey. Pull it to the scene with Ray Jose. Did it show my face, we ain't even gon' stay. Giving out blessings every day, then it come right back like underlay. We got everybody so happy, like hip parade. Once upon a time, the devil wanted beef with me, now he eat it. Chick-fil-A. Nazareth.
Where we going, Phil?
Nazareth. Nazareth. Just got back from Nazareth.
Hey.
Got disciple with me like I just got back from Nazareth. Got disciple with me like I just got back from
Hey,
Nazareth.
where we going, Phil?
Nazareth.
Pipe up.
Nazareth. Nazareth. Just got back from Nazareth. Got disciple with me like I just got back from Nazareth. Got disciple with me like I just got back from Nazareth. I don't even know why all these folks be getting mad. Probably cause we snapping just like Michael Jackson bad.
Yeah.
Yes, I love my mama, but shout out to my dad.
Why you say that?
Cause that's a person some of my folks ain't never had.
Shalom, shalom. Shalom, family. Shout out to the Argument League. Shout out to Soul Division Debate League. But first and foremost, giving all praise to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is Elder YARAH. I'm just finna go in for a second, family. It's been long overdue. Shout out to Yahweh War Machine. It's been a minute, man, since we came on officially. This is Yahweh War Machine. Maybe some of the brothers will chime in, but if not, man, we're just going to talk a little bit about the face of Esau. And the face of Esau, he's revealed himself. Maybe Esau is in blackface, but we're going to expose who Esau is today. And for those of us who don't know, what I'm in referencing to, you have most people that teach Israelite paradigm that Esau is the white man. But we're going to take a different look at that today. Although I hold due to some of those tenets that Esau can be among various different people. But we're going to show Esau in blackface today, right? And specifically, I'm going to show you the house that Esau built, AKA the house of consciousness. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to show you today. We're going to talk about the house that Esau built, AKA the house of consciousness. So let's go in for a second, family. I want to deal with some things. I've been seeing people on House of Conscious, the resident folks over there, Brother Polite, Garfield, Ogg West, Dr. Reggie, the guy Rob Bourne, right? A couple of weeks ago, did a panel discussion about how religion is bad for Black folks. And then I heard Brother Polite come on with one of the most asinine questions I've ever heard. You know, what were we doing before we had the Abrahamic faiths? What were we doing? What were we doing, Polite? Are you suggesting that we were atheists? Are you suggesting that there was no concept of divinity? There was no concept of God? There was no concept of a higher power? What are you suggesting? Are you suggesting man had no spiritual understanding or no sixth sense? We can go back thousands and thousands of years and we can discuss the pineal gland, or what some of you in Kemet, you know, called the third eye or the eye of Ra. You try to make that correlation, but we know there's some type of spirituality man has always had. There's always a connection beyond that which is physical between man. We see that between the mother and the son, or the mother and the daughter, the mother birthing the child. We see that there's a spiritual connection coded in the very DNA of the human being. That's why when some babies are born, they come out and say, you know what? He walked just like my great-great-grandfather. How would a child know to do that? Some say, oh, it's encoded in his genetics. Well, we call that epigenetics, or spiritual understanding. How a spiritual understanding and spiritual divinity can actually influence your natural behavior through epigenetics. We often talk about different things. I said before. You know, there are children that are born, he say, you know what, he got the same spirit as my great-great-grandfather. Or some of y'all like to say your ancestors. That's a spiritual connection manifesting itself in the natural realm. But for some reason, these brothers at the house of consciousness, the house that Esau built, or what I call the synagogue of Satan, want you to believe that there's no need for spirituality, especially within that in the Abrahamic faiths. Why do we need it? But we have to ask ourselves, what is the purpose of attacking the Abrahamic faith? Are you saying all other faiths outside of the Abrahamic faiths are better for us as Black people? What's your confederacy against the Abrahamic faith? Or should I say, what is your confederacy or conspiracy against the people, against Black folks who have a belief in a higher power? They simply try to push the narrative that can be no intelligence within their paradigm of a spiritual sense of spiritual belief. But we're going to get into the science of that. I'm going to read a few articles. I'm going to read some scriptures. And we're going to talk about this thing in common sense. And then we're going to find out what it is that they're really attempting to do. What is their agenda? What is their agenda? They posture and they make the claim that the Abrahamic faith have no reason or no purpose in our lives. And I'm saying the Abrahamic faith because that's what they attack. And when I say Abrahamic faith, they're talking about Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. I see you, Taz. Peace to you, brother.
What up, bro? What's good?
What's good, fam?
My fucking picture up there. Shit, man, just coming to check you out because I'm one of them that look at that. I ain't from that conscious community or none of that, bro. I never really got into it, man. But I feel like they've done irreparable damage to to believers, to people who are trying to bring other people into Israel or any of that. I think they're doing irreparable damage. And so I'm gonna check out your call out right here, man, because if you want people to be that, they're not doing what it takes to get people to do it.
Agreed. I agree, 100. And so I appreciate you coming on, brother. And feel free to comment, brother. Like, I'm not one of them type of people, you know what I'm saying, that I got to hog the whole panel, but I do want to get this information out. So we're gonna talk about some things, man. And so what they try to do is they attempt to take one's spiritual beliefs, especially those of the Abrahamic faith, as I mentioned before, and try to create a narrative that people who are involved with the Abrahamic faith or have this belief system or have this faith are somehow less intelligent than they are. Because what they really are backdoor atheists. They're not even real atheists. They're humanists. And simply what they do is they play on the ignorance of those who have been disenfranchised, those who feel like maybe they can't believe in a something that you can't physically touch tangibly, or something that you can't quantify scientifically. So it should be dismissed. But you can't tell me that you've gone through life, or that your mother or your father or your ancestors have gone through life, and the only thing that they've been able to believe in is something tangible, something that they can touch. Some of you wouldn't be where you are today if your parents didn't have faith. If they didn't see something in you that had not even manifested yet, even as a child. Some of you are who you are because your parents spoke that into your life. That's not something tangible. That's something spiritual that they spoke inside of you. But I'm confused with the fact that you attack such things. We're going to talk about how is it that when our grandmothers and our mothers say, you know what, I feel something just ain't right with my son. Something just ain't right with my daughter. Science will tell you that type of statement is something that's illogical. That's something you can't quantify with intelligence. Intuition is what they call it, or women's intuition. And if anybody's been around any type of real women, know that that's a real thing. Women's intuition is a real thing. Brothers, don't be fooled. Your woman know when you're messing around. She know when something ain't right. Your mother know when you doing something you ain't had no business doing. You get that call 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, son, what's going on? How you doing? What's wrong? And you know what you've been doing has been messed up. Well, something's going on in your life. But that mother's intuition shakes her. It rattles her spirit. That connection that she has with her children that says, hey, let me reach out. There's something's not right here. That's a spiritual connection. But that's something science will tell you that they can't quantify. They will tell you that's not an intelligence. The issue is here that faith goes a little bit beyond intuition. It's to see the unseen. It goes beyond the consciousness. So we're not talking about something esoteric here. We're talking about something that is a spiritual connection that you can't see, you can't touch, you can't taste it. But these people over at the House of Consciousness, or the AKA House of Synagogue, they will tell you to dismiss all of that. And they'll tell you, oh, that's not what we're saying, but I'm going to prove to you and tell you that's exactly what they're telling you. That the only way to advance Black folks is through science. The scientific method. If it can't be quantified that way, then we should move away from it because that won't advance our people. But that's the narrative of Esau. And some folks say, well, Esau is only the white man in some circles. I'm going to show you that today. That's not true. Some of y'all is just Esau in blackface. That's all you are. You Esau in blackface, but you've been revealing yourself. And you've been bold enough to do it. And the reason is because nobody addresses it. So you feel emboldened. But we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it today. I'm going to share my screen. And we're going to deal with some of these narratives. We're going to deal with some of this BS that you hear. This false gospel coming out of the synagogue of Satan, aka House of Consciousness. And make no mistake about it, family. That's a priesthood over there. It's a priesthood over there. But let's deal with this. This is from neurosciencenews.com, and I'll get down at the bottom of it and show you where where we get this from. This is from January 29th, 2018. And it says, are religious people really, on average, less smart than atheists? And if anybody's listened to the House of Consciousness, of the aka Synagogue of Satan, they're nothing more than atheists. But they wear, the Uranus, the snake on the cobra on the forehead, with the little plastic, wings and things on their forehead. They do that. They put on the Egyptian shirts, you know what I'm saying? They put the little Egyptian shirts on, they rock the little eye of Ra inside the little pyramid, show you all their little comedic science motifs. But they'll tell you, oh no, we don't. They didn't have a religious system. We don't follow their religious system. We just like the way it looked. Right? They attack the Bible. They attack Islam. They attack everything your mother and your father grew up on. They attack everything that black folks, some black folks hold dear. And for what reason? To give you something better? All they simply say is put down your religion, burn your Bibles, and pick up the scientific method. That's what they say. Because if you have faith in anything other than outside of yourself, you're not that intelligent. And you can't advance our society. It's a fallacious argument. It's a lie. That's the message of Esau today. Now watch this. Are religious people really on average less smart than atheists? Let's get into it. Summary: a new study addresses whether religiosity is associated with lower intelligence. Researchers report religious people appear to be predisposed to rely more heavily on intuition. You know what they said? It says researchers report religious people appear to be predisposed to rely more heavily on intuition when it comes to decision making over reasoning. Now watch this. They conclude cognitive training could allow religious-minded people to maintain their beliefs without over-relying on intuition when making decisions. In other words, they want you to believe the white man's narrative, because most of what we hear from these brothers, whether it's Darwinianism or some erratic form of it, or whether it's humanism, that didn't come from black folks. Atheism didn't come from us. That's Esau's view and understanding of the world. You just Esau in blackface. And you want us to put our Quran down. You want us to put the Torah down. You want us to put the Bible down. And you want us to pick up Esau's methodology. Because religious people rely heavily on intuition. What does that mean? Remember, folks used to say, I should have gone with my first mind. I used to hear my mother say that all the time. I should have followed my first mind. I used to hear my grandparents say that all the time. Old folks say that all the time. I should have followed my first mind. What is that? That intuition. What were they saying? If I followed my intuition, then I would have made a better decision. But these folks want you to dismiss that because they believe that religious people appear to be predisposed to rely more heavily on intuition when it comes to decision making over reasoning. That's what they want you to do. Switch out your intuition, your spiritual sixth sense, and replace it with the scientific methodology of Esau. That's what they teach over there on the House of Consciousness, aka the Synagogue of Satan. Brother Polite, Reggie, Ankh West, Garfield, Rob Bourne, Sarnetta. That's what you push over there. Science over spirituality. Let's get into it. Of course, there are examples of extremely intelligent individuals with strong religious convictions, but various studies have found that an average belief in God is associated with lower scores on IQ tests. It is well established that religiosity correlates inversely with intelligence. Note Richard Dawes and Adam Hampshire and Imperial College London in a new paper pushing frontiers in psychology, which seeks to explore why. It's a question with some urgency. The proportion of people with a religious belief is growing by 2050. So you mean to tell me there are actually more people relying on their religious belief or intuitive thinking or intuition than people that are not? Why is that? How can that be? If your claim is that the only way we can advance is that we grow with our logic and in the scientific method that Esau has given us, that narrative. But people don't seem to agree with that. But they want to bring out all kind of studies. This is why folks leaving the church, and this is why folks tear that Bible up. It says, but the proportion of people with religious belief is growing by 2050. If current trends continue, people who say that they are not religious will make up only 13% of the global population by 2050. So you atheists are quickly moving even further into the minority. In other words, nobody want to hear what the hell you got to say. You know why? Because intuition, that spiritual connection, tells them that the Esau narrative that you're pushing to tear up that Bible, destroy it, get away from this faith, don't have no faith in that, only have faith in yourself, is BS.
Man, you know what, YARAH, man, that's interesting though, man, because I was talking a few weeks ago about a debate where I was going to take the position of that people don't need religion. But given that type of study, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
13%, bro? Like,
yeah.
wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And I'm going to go forward because I know what this article says, right? Because it actually goes into what some scientists actually say. But we're going to get into it further into some other articles about really what they're talking about. Really what they've come to find out, right? But that's a great point, brother. So based on low IQ religiosity link, it could be argued that humanity is on a course to become collectively less smart. That's what they want you to believe. They want you to take away your gut feeling, your intuition, your spiritual sixth sense. That's what they want you to do. But I promise you, to do that is to walk blindly and to follow blindly. When you take away that intuition, that spiritual sixth sense, that gut feeling, you become part of the masses. Because there's no difference, there's no buffer to tell you, hey, I see what everybody else doing, but this don't feel right. They want you to dismiss that feeling. You know why? Because it's easier to lead you astray. It's easier to lead you to the water that they want you to drink, the Kool-Aid that they got mixed up for you. If you listen to folks that came out of Jim Jones camp, those folks in the Heaven Gate, you know what some of those folks said? We knew something wasn't right. And if I had followed my first mind, some of my friends and my family members would still be alive today. This is the same rhetoric and narrative that we get over there at the synagogue of Satan, aka the house of consciousness. They want you to dismiss your gut feeling, your spiritual sixth sense. because it makes it easier to lead the masses when there's nothing saying this ain't right. I know what I'm looking at. I see it, but this ain't right. This ain't right. It says one suggestion is that perhaps religious people tend to rely more on intuition. In other words, folks with a sense of spirituality, and I'm saying I'm interchanging spirituality and religion here, and religious people. People with a sense of spirituality, because that's something divine that they connect to outside of themselves. Right? Which is in contrast to what Polite would tell you. He's his own God. He relies solely on himself. He doesn't have, the only voice he hears inside of him is his own voice. That he's correct and true above all others. That's what happens when you fall into that humanist type of thinking, that atheistic type of thinking. Nothing outside of you can correct you. That's a quick path to disaster, people. But let me continue. One suggestion is that perhaps religious people tend to rely more on intuition. They have a problem with that. Esau has a problem with that. They have a problem with you relying on your intuition, on your gut feeling, on your spiritual sixth sense, or what some folks say, and understanding what your pineal gland is. They want you to dismiss that. So rather than having listen to this. So rather than having impaired general intelligence, they may be comparatively poor only on tasks in which intuition and logic come into conflict. And this might explain the lower IQ test results overall. So what are they saying? It's not that religious people are less intelligent or spiritual people are less intelligent than those people who are not. It's simply saying that the tests that be created are usually created based on Esau's understanding of what they want the world to be and their narrative or the scientific method they want you to follow. So this is how they create the test. Years ago, they came out with a study as to why young women or young girls or teenagers or children versus young boys of the same age would do more poorly on the SAT test or the standardized testing, right? And they actually did two different types of studies, right? But they did one with females versus males, and why females did so much poorly in certain aspects on the SAT test. Well, come to find out is because women process information differently than men. Women process information not just with the logical side like men do, but they also process information along with their IQ and intelligence, but also with their EQ or their emotional intelligence. And so a lot of the questioning on the test was simply based on the IQ portion and not relying on another important part of the brain, which is your emotional quotient or your EQ. So certain questions that really could have been answered correctly by using the accessing their EQ or their emotional quotient, they simply had a difficult time answering because they speak differently. They think differently at times. So they would fail certain things on the test. So now the SAT test is no longer part of a prerequisite to enter into college now, because it's not a true gauge on whether or not a woman is more smarter or less smarter than a man. And this is what we have today in society. They also had to test, they found out why black folks were doing poorly on these standardized testing than their white counterparts. Right? And most of it was really based on language. And so it's the people that's creating the test. Who's creating the test that says who's smarter than who? If religious people is smarter than non-religious people. Well, most of those people, I guarantee you, and we know this for a fact, that are pushing the scientific method in this testing, those people are atheists. So how else would they gauge someone who looks at things with a spiritual sense or who has a spiritual gauge? So they would have these tests and they would give these standardized tests to young black men and young black boys and then compare them to their white counterparts and say, well, see, white kids are smarter than black kids. But what were they doing on the test? They would do things like this. Would you put pickles in a jar or a jug? And so black folks would say, we put pickles in the jug. But white folks say, no, the right answer is jar. And so since we say jug, they fail the test. So then they'll ask us a question on the test. Well, if I wanted to get across the street to the other side of the road, what would I do? Would I cross the pavement or would I cross the street? And so black folks will say, well, it's the ground. You run across the ground. Well, ground, pavement, sidewalk. And so they would fail us on foolishness like that. That's because the tests weren't ever designed for us to pass the test. And so people don't really understand these things. So when they come out and they espouse these narratives, these narratives of people that say religious folks are less intelligent, well, who's creating these tests? And they simply would have us to believe that if we don't get rid of our Bibles, if we don't get rid of our Torah, if we don't get rid of the Quran, then we're ignorant. We're stupid. We can't advance because there's no intelligence within holding on to those tenets of faith. You can't be an intelligent person. This is what you hear constantly from the House of Consciousness, aka the Synagogue of Satan. And this is why you get those asinine questions from Brother Polite. Well, what would we have been worshiping 70,000 or 100,000 10,000 years ago if you say the Bible was only written is only 6,000, if mankind was only 6,000 years old? What would we have been studying? Is man older than that? And what would we have been studying before that? What we was worshiping before that? Like, really, bro? Like, we know going back hundreds of thousands of years that human beings practice ritual burials. Ritual burial practices, that's an indicator of a spiritual sense. They were positioned a certain way. They were laid a certain way. There were certain things left within them in these graves, at least going back 78,000 years. We have factual evidence of that, archaeological evidence of that, anthropological evidence of that. That people had spiritual belief systems then. It's a retarded question, Polite. Retarded question. They had a sixth sense or a spiritual sense that there was something beyond the physical. They had an intuition, something beyond the physical. But you claim you're one with the universe. How do you do that? Let me go to this next article. Well, let me go back and show this. I want to show the people the source on this one. Let me go back. Just so y'all can see the source on this. Emma Young, BPS, published neurosciencenews.com. The original research on this was done, BPS in psychology, right? The original research was done on this, so you can go back and talk about that. And let's go to this next article. And this is from the Science Times. And listen to what it says, people. It says intuition may be the highest form of intelligence. And this is from June 19th, 2019. Intuition may be the highest form of intelligence. But that's not what you hear from the House of Consciousness. They solely say the only way we can advance as an intelligent people is if we have the scientific method, a scientific methodology. Ankh West. Ankh West. It's what you say. And if I'm misquoting you, you know where to find me. But watch this. It says, so if you're thinking intuition has nothing to do with intelligence, then you're not alone. Because intuition is so difficult to measure and observe. The dictionary definition of intuition is as follows: the ability to understand something immediately, without the need for conscious reasoning. Intuition is our first instinct. It's your first survival mechanism. You know how it is, ladies, when you're walking down the street, and brothers, when you're walking down the street and you're in some places maybe familiar to you or unfamiliar to you, and you feel like something's behind you, somebody's watching you from behind. You can't really see anybody. You don't really hear anything, but you just feel something. You feel something that's there. And then some days you might clutch your purse and you might cross the street. Or brothers, you may decide not to turn down that street because you feel something just ain't right. It feels like something is following you. And then you get home and then you watch the news and you say, man, there was a big pile up on that block. I was about to turn down that street, but something. And see, for me, that power is the Ruach Elohim, right? Or some would say in Christianity, the Holy Ghost, right? Or the Holy Spirit, that intuition that allows you to see things or feel things that cannot be seen. That thing that you knew when you got home and you watched news, said, man, I just got off on that. Something told me to get off on that exit, and I got off. I didn't know why, but at the very next exit, there was a big pile up. 15 people, 20 people died, women, men, and children. Or women, when you walking down the street and then you get back and your neighbor calls you, say, girl, did you hear about somebody, so-and-so sister was walking down that block and two guys jumped out and mugged her and raped her? And you say, you know what? I was just walking past that alley. I was about to, and I crossed the street. I didn't know why, but I crossed the street. You know why? Because I felt something. That intuition, that intelligence that goes beyond the logic. But this is what the House of Consciousness aka the synagogue of Satan, wants you to dismiss. They don't want you to rely on intuition, because they try to make the claim that religious people who simply rely on intuition are less smarter than those who don't rely on scientific method. In other words, that which they can prove, that which can be observed and tested and proven. And we just read, this is the problem that they have with that intelligence of intuition, is that they can't test it. It's difficult. Look, because intuition, I'm gonna read it. So if you're thinking intuition has nothing to do with the intelligence, then you're not alone, because intuition is so difficult to measure and observe. So these folks that's all this, they all scientific minded, they can't grasp this concept. As my brother Anonymous says, your pineal gland has been calcified. Your spiritual eye, your sixth sense has been calcified. You have no true understanding. You have no true understanding. Intuition is our first instinct. It's what we feel right away. Watch this. Before the mind has time to come in and consciously analyze. So you mean to tell me that they believe that your intuition, that spiritual eye, that sixth sense works quicker than your logic? It goes beyond the scientific method? It's a survival tactic. Oftentimes we hear of people who are near death and everything becomes clear, and they just instinctively know exactly what needs to be done to get themselves out of the situation. There's no time to turn, to hum and haw and weigh options, and intuitions take over if we let it. Sometimes you got to make a split decision. You ain't got time to analyze all of your surroundings, observe everything around you, and test it. Sometimes you have to make a decision right there. It's a matter of life and death. Your intuitive thinking, your intuition, your spiritual sixth sense, the power of the pineal gland that we have, that's a pineal gland, that's imperative. It's necessary. It's real. But these folks want you to dismiss that. The Torah, the Quran, the Bible, it talks about that intuition, relying on that spiritual sixth sense that will save your life, that will advance you. That is a form of high intelligence, a high intelligence. But they want you to dismiss that. Because when you dismiss that feeling, when you dismiss that knowledge that comes to you immediately, then you're easier led astray. Let's continue. You know when you get that gut feeling that maybe something isn't right. That is your intuition. And while we feel it is our gut, it's in our gut or stomach area, many people often argue that it comes from the heart. In fact, a documentary called The Power of the Heart explains how this feeling is actually coming from the heart. And the heart is always the first to reach to any given situation. The heart intuitively knows what's up. And if you're studying the scripture, it clearly tells you that the heart is synonymous with the mind. Gorenzier, a director at the Max Planck Institute of Human Development and author of the book Gut Feelings, the intelligence, watch this, the intelligence of the unconscious claims to be both intuitive and rational. He says, in my scientific work, I have hunches. What is a hunch? That's an intuition. I can't always explain why I think a certain path is a right way, but I need to trust it and go ahead. You can't always explain what the Most High does. You're not going to always be able to. Sometimes you just have to go ahead. You have to follow your spiritual sixth sense. You have to follow your intuition, your gut feeling. Now watch this. Intuition itself doesn't equal intelligence, but intuition with action most certainly can be intelligent. So in other words, simply you having a thought or simply saying I should have followed my first mind and don't act on it, then you can't equate that to intelligence. But when that thought first comes to your mind and you act on it, then you have, according to them, how they observe intelligence. Intelligence is that now they have something that they can observe and something they can test. So this is why they're saying it doesn't equal to the intelligence. You probably said it to yourself before. I knew that was the answer. I should have gone with my first instinct or my first mind, as some folks say. You see, this is an example of how your intuition often knows what your conscious mind does not. And so some folks will come on here and talk about, oh, your consciousness, your conscious mind. No. There's a spiritual sixth sense that the Most High has given us all. And what these guys want to do, like Garfield, they want to tell you to dismiss your intuition. They want you to dismiss what you know is right, what you feel is right. They want to tell you it's wrong to say, when some folks say, how do you know you're an Israelite? And they got y'all afraid to say that you feel it. Okay, don't worry. They got some of y'all afraid to say that. Because then they want to put the moniker on you. Well, see, that's not intelligence. You're not intelligent. You're not intelligent. Next time they ask you how you know you're an Israelite, tell them because I feel it. I know it. You gotta try something else. I ain't gonna prove nothing to you. Now watch this. I should have gone with my first mind. You see, this is an example of how your intuition often knows what your conscious mind does not. But just as Gorenzier says, he tests his first instinct to see if it was correct. And oftentimes it is. So intuition does hold some form of intelligence. So despite often having that great idea, do you find that you have a difficult time trusting the answer or path is correct? The amazing thing about intuition is that it can be thought of as a muscle. So in other words, if you don't exercise it, if you don't exercise that spiritual sixth sense, then it's going to be weak. And a lot of these guys who simply only want you to follow ESAU'S narrative of the scientific method, and that we can't believe anything that we can't test and observe, we can't believe anything that's not tangible, that's because you're weak in understanding your intuition, your spiritual sixth sense. It's not strong. But for those of us who are religious, it's strong. Who accept the form of something that's a divine understanding beyond ourselves. Our intuitive thinking is stronger than yours. And simply because you're weak in that area, you can't comprehend or understand it. So what do? You attack it because you're weak-minded in your first mind. Your first mind is weak. You're faithless. That's the narrative of Esau. That's the synagogue of Satan. You're a faithless generation. Let me move on and go to this next article. I'm sorry about that. Let me get a source for this one. This is Science. This is Science Times. Here it is. Intuition may be the highest form of intelligence. It's the article I was just reading, if anybody wanted to know. Let me go to this next article. This article is called Exploring Your Mind. And we're talking about the psychology. And now we're going to get into the 4 types of intuitive thinking. Right? Intuitive thinking. It says, even now, intuitive thinking is a mystery to the world of science. Intuition, following your first mind, is a mystery to the world of science, they say. However, we've managed to make some progress and get a better understanding of this fascinating, unpredictable part of our brains. It is somewhere between emotions and rationality, which is exactly why it is so mysterious. Intuitive thinking is basically the kind of thinking that helps you understand reality in the moment without logic or analysis. See, science only deals with logic and analysis. But intuitive thinking goes beyond that. It says it helps you to understand reality in the moment. When you understand reality in the moment, what's going around you in the moment, then you're able to react more effectively and efficiently. Some things you have to decide in the moment. Let's continue. There's no language involved in it either. It's entirely about signs and sensations. Most of the time, it goes against whatever we might think of as rational. Your intuitive thinking, your spiritual sixth sense, almost always goes against what we think is rational. And this is why these brothers have an issue with understanding what they quote unquote call the Abrahamic faiths, and why they ride against it so much, why they're so confederate against it and the people that follow it. Why? Because you're further advanced than they are. because your intuitive thinking surpasses their rational thinking. Because when you're speaking in the moment, they're still trying to figure out how to squeeze a square peg into a round hole. You understand what I'm saying? And so you have to deal with these people in this manner. So according to science, intuitive thinking happens in a region of our brain close to the pineal gland. In other words, it lines up with the middle of your forehead between your eyebrows. You can't use intuitive thinking whenever you want, though. It only shows up in moments of inspiration. So whenever you aspire to do something great, or when you have moments of inspiration, things that people don't necessarily come up with. The scripture talks about he will give us witty inventions. In the book of Proverbs, it talks about having witty inventions. In other words, when you come up with an idea that no one else came up with in that moment, the Greeks referred to a time as, I believe, they say, eureka. An inspiration in that very moment. Plus, it really works. It's what some people call doctors, clinical eye, or being a visionary. And that's the problem. A lot of these guys are visionaries. They're followers. The book of Habakkuk tells us to write the vision and make it plain. Intuitive thinking and science. The topic of intuitive thinking has led to all kinds of speculation, but since it's so strongly tied to our emotions, it is not very easy to verify anything about it. It just takes hold of people sometimes and makes it so that what they intuited will really happen. But science has taken this issue on. One major program that's studying it is the Laboratory of Brain Evolution and Behavior, part of the National Institute of Mental Health in the United States, with Paul McLean as its current director. According to their research, intuitive thinking originates in the neural cortex. This is a special part of the brain that has elements of both hemispheres in it. So in other words, to think only logically is to only think with one side of your brain, but intuitive thinking encapsulates both parts of your brain, the left and the right. And often this is what they tell us. This is why women have a higher IQ or an emotional quotient than men, because they exercise their intuitive muscle. They exercise their intuitive thinking. Along with their logical thinking. Right? This is a special part of the brain that has elements of both hemispheres in it. Although they're not sure exactly how it works, they think it has something to do with instantly processing knowledge, experiences, and the signs around you. But you got these folks want you to dismiss your intuition. They want you to dismiss your spiritual understanding. They want to tell you it has no place in your life. They want to tell you you're less intelligent for it. But their own scientific method of science doesn't even agree with them. It says the end result of processing is a correct interpretation of reality. And those brothers have no correct interpretation of reality. There are four kinds of intuitive thinking. People have always talked about intuition as a kind of spark that flares up and sheds light on things, right? Even Albert Einstein said that his studies relied a lot on intuition. It says the theory that there are four different types of intuitive thinking. Here they are. It says emotional intuitive thinking. This has to do with your ability to immediately pick up on other people's personality traits or emotional states. You can see who they are or how they are without them having to say anything. Tell me most of y'all don't rely on that intuitive thinking, emotional intuitive thinking in your life. Y'all know when folks trying to BS you before they even open their mouth. You can look at the silly clothes they wearing. I don't care how many slashes and borders of blue you wearing. They ain't got nothing to do with you being evil up under all them garments you wearing. I don't care what uniform you wear. You still evil as hell on the inside. I don't care how many fringes you wear. You still evil on the inside. Let's be real about it. Mental intuitive thinking. This is about finding an immediate answer to a problem without analyzing it. It is very common in people with jobs that require quick decisions like firefighters or bomb technicians. But they want to tell you folks who rely on intuition, and religious people that we've read the study rely more so on intuitive thinking, that those people are somehow less intelligent than those who rely on logic. Come on now. Psychic intuitive thinking. This means having the ability to choose the best path to overcome a personal difficulty without putting much mental effort into it. It also means being able to pick up on social and work-related dynamics. Here we go. Spiritual intuitive thinking. This has to do with the states of enlightenment or revelations. Spiritual intuitive thinking. This has to do with the states of enlightenment or revelations. They're more of an experience than a fact. Buddhists talk about this kind of intuition more than anyone else, which has given it a mystical quality. And so you see, oftentimes we get from folks, throw your Bible away, throw the Torah away. You don't need that spiritual sixth sense. Just follow what the white man telling you to do. Just follow what ESAU'S telling you to do. They want you to dismiss that. When they tell you to throw your religion to the side, put it on the shelf. When they tell you to dismiss all that, they're simply telling you there's no need to rely on your intuitive thinking because you're not that intelligent. That's what they want you to believe. That's what they want you to follow. Right? Matthew 6:22. It says the eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. That's your spiritual eye it's talking about. That sixth sense, that intuitive thinking that goes beyond the logic and the conscience. Is to be able to see reality in the moment. To truly access and interpret correctly reality. This is the understanding we have to have. Genesis 32:20, 32 and 30. It says, so Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, saying, for I have seen God face to face. I have seen Yahweh face to face, and yet my life has been delivered. In other words, I saw Yahweh not face to face, but I understand him to be as a friend. I now have a relationship with him, that now I have been changed, that now my life has been delivered. This is Jacob talking about his spiritual enlightenment. And for those of you in the chat who may be listening, did Jacob really wrestle with an angel, a physical angel? The answer is no. We clearly know that this was a vision. This was a spiritual awakening, a spiritual enlightenment. Clear cut. No need to argue. Luke 11:34. Your eye is the lamp of your body. When your eye is healthy, your whole body is full of light. But when it is bad, your body is full of darkness. What is talking about? Your spiritual sixth sense, your spiritual enlightenment. These guys are full of darkness. That's why they don't have a problem. Some of these folks don't have a problem running around here calling themselves that foolishness. But watch out for these folks that tell you to put your religion down, cast down your faith. Follow the belief system that they came up with. They want you to follow them. Put down your understanding. Put down your spiritual sixth sense. Dismiss your intuition. And pick up ESAU'S narrative about what your reality is. Your spiritual sixth sense and understanding goes beyond that. Genesis 3. It says, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. People have this debate all the time about what's going on in Genesis chapter 3. About the Garden of Eden debate. It's talking about spiritual enlightenment. There's something important about your spiritual sixth sense. There's spiritual enlightenment, seeing things and interpreting things correctly in the moment. These things are true, but they want you to dismiss it as fairy tale. They want you to dismiss it as fairy tale. Be careful of someone who's always asking you for something, who wants to take away that which you've had, but has no offering of nothing to replace it with. Other than just telling you you don't need it. They completely have no understanding. Let me explain something to y'all. What YARAH is. 1 John 1, verse 5. This is the message we have heard from him, and to proclaim you that Yahweh, or that God, is light. Light. What is light? Knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Why would you not accept that? And in him is no darkness at all. That's the first thing out of their mouth. That's the very reason they want you to attack. They wanted to attack religious. They wanted to attack religion. They want to attack your belief system. They want to attack the name of the Most High. Because they know in him there's knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And where do we find that? In his word. And even if you, listen, if you have a relationship with the Most High, even if you burn that book, even if you burn the book and they got rid of every Bible and Torah and Quran in the universe, to have a relationship with the Most High, you still have a connection to their wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that comes to you intuitively in the moment, inspired. It's what the Bible says, that the scripture is the inspired word of the Most High. That's that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that you need. That for some reason, these brothers don't want you to access. They don't want you to access it. What is it that they're afraid of? I'll tell you what they're afraid of. They can't use you. That's what they're afraid of. They can't use you. Because that intuition will tell you, hey, something ain't right. I hear him. It sounds good. I see what he's saying. I see what he's selling, but something just ain't right. Something just ain't right. So when people tell you that because you study the scripture or because you pray, that makes you less intelligent, because that's the only argument that they're going to give you. Bible thumpers have done. There's empirical data and studies that tell you that those who study and read the Bible, have been taught to read the Bible their whole life, they're better readers than those who have not. studied and read the Bible most of their lives. Most people are better readers. So don't allow them to belittle you. Don't allow them to tell you that you're less intelligent. Don't allow them to do that. Don't allow them to do that. You have to ask yourself, what's that about? You should question everything. Should question everything. Shalom, Mark. I see you back there.
Shalom, Mark.
What's good? What's good?
Good bill, man. It's a good bill, man. I'm really feeling it. You know what I mean? I think the information you're going over is well needed, man, because you can see the duplicity in what a lot of these brothers are saying, especially when it comes to about the scriptures and intuitions and things like this. Because when you was going over that, I was thinking about Egypt, and how you got the Wajet with the cobra, and then you got all these things, and you got the Duat. All these things was based off beliefs and what they thought was a attribute, or what I would call, they was going off their intuition of how they thought these things behave when they have on the hawk head, the different animal motifs that they used. To me, this is kind of based off. It kind of prove what they're saying. To me, it make them look like hypocrites because. Like I said, when you look at ancient Egypt and the things that the thing that transpired in their culture, you can clearly see these people were basing things off their intuition and belief system.
Right. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, King.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's all I want to say for the moment.
Yeah, exactly right. You're exactly right. What's good?
Hey.
What up, T-Dub? Shalom, A9.
Let me get it together. Hey, gentlemen. Elder YARAH, I got a newfound respect for you, man. You actually got usefulness. Hey, but check it. Them dudes there, they talk about the scientific method. They ain't got nothing to do with the scientific method. We all know they hustle. We all know what they're about. You know what I'm saying? It comes to a time and a place where we gotta be what we say we are, and we gotta rock how a real man's supposed to rock. And I didn't get to say it that night because I wanted to make sure I got the totality of it. But y'all, all jokes aside, on some serious shit, that was some stand-up shit you did the other night. Regardless, and we gotta be right. Of course, faith plays an important role in our lives. We gotta honor that, and you gotta use whatever tools we're given. You know what I'm saying? You can't sit here and think that science is gonna get you all the way. You know what I'm saying? We gotta use whatever tools are at our disposal to do what it is we gotta do, and faith is being one of them. And they think they're using science over there. They're not really using science. They're using the gift of gab. They're using a golden tongue to, do what they got to do to, get their swindle on. But that's not here nor there. Just know that, you always got to allow your intuition to do some work. because it can get you out of a lot of sticky situations. But yeah, I don't want to bring up that other shit, but I mean, we got to stop letting people. I just say it like this, even though it don't pertain to today. It pertains to what I heard the other day. We got to stop letting people, ride under the moniker when they ain't got no true good intentions. Because regardless of the fact, the situation should never played out like how it played. No man should ever be taking no money out no woman with kids' mouth. Period. You know what I'm saying? Like, you hurting the babies. And if we really feel in the Bible like we say we do, we collecting money to go back to Israel and shit. You already know that the thing that's said most in the Bible is children in Israel. You know what I'm saying? And I see a lot of people like not using that the right way. They how can I say it? Instead of the children of Israel, it's about, you know what I'm saying, grown ass motherfuckers that's supposed to already have their shit together. And I play around a lot, but I could tell you one thing for sure: I ain't never had to take nothing from, especially our sisters though. Like with kids, like you taking out of like I can't. That ain't never justifiable. Because being a man alone, we got the Most High. We don't need to be taken from our sisters. We got the Most High. The Most High got our back. If you really down with this understanding, you know that you could depend on the Most High. You don't need no loans. You don't need nothing. All the sisters need to see is you strong. Even if you got two nickels to rub together, the sisters need to think you got more than what you got, because you know what I'm saying? You that Israelite brother. And it's just like, I don't know. Like, we string niggas up by their nuts that do sucker shit like that. But at the same time, these sisters got to get put in check too, because they don't need to be running around making these awkward situations. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't the first rodeo. She pretty excessive with this. Like, she don't get it. Like, you just don't be throwing your money around. Like, you got to think about your daughter. You got to think about your kids. You got to think about everything other than what you trying to, this whole thing. Because now you're starting to believe that narrative. You can't trust brothers, but it's not brothers you dealing with. You dealing with the brothers ain't vetting people properly. So you got these suckers infiltrate the organization, and they worse than the white man themselves, because they got the same skin color, so they could creep on us, a little easier. But once it's like we can't be with it, and we can't be halfway in, halfway out. You got to be all or nothing, and we ain't gonna see no progress till we all or nothing. And, that's all.
Con, appreciate you, fam. Shout out to A9.
Well. Good job, OG. Yeah.
All praise to the Most High.
Let's cook some consciousness real quick. First off, peace to the panel. You know what I'm saying? Peace to the chat. Shout out to the brother for bringing this topic out. Something we need to deal with. I think first point I want to pick up on, since we being empirical, like, you know what I'm saying, since we're trying to show data, is the understanding of concepts of social memory, right? When we talk about intuition, things like this, these things are based on social memory. A lot of this is based upon memories, things that you've experienced or things that you've been taught. So this is why people who really practice the Bible or the Quran or various forms of spiritual belief systems are taught to teach these things to their kids and their kids' kids and their kids' kids' kids. And you're also supposed to give them the memories, the social memories that you've experienced. And then this works to create what we call a fight or flight response. Right? Because that's really what we're talking about. Like, what's the difference between the average black person and maybe other cultures? Somebody get to shooting, either black people hitting the ground, trying to get up out of there, or just taking off running. The average black person, right? It's the same concept when we experience in life through the eyes of a spiritual belief system. And this is extremely scientific if you understand the scientific method, because part of the scientific method, and one of the largest parts of the scientific method, is the observance. right? So to insinuate that somebody is less than intelligent when they have all of this data that they've been able to watch for years, and then they're filtering it through the Bible, and they're making decisions based upon the intuition that they have by observing all of the other empirical data that they've seen in their life, to tell them that they're stupid for doing that is not only detrimental, it is Esau-like.
Sure.
Right? It takes on the guise or the phase of completely being against the mind of God. And when you brought out this Peniel thing, like, I want to deal with this as well. I think the brother Afro-Asiatic said it in the chat. Y'all got to learn to do deeper root word studies. So when you deal with Pana and El, right? So Peniel or Penuel is what we call a bilateral word, right? It's a compound word in the Hebrew. So when you get to the root of the word, you have two words, Pana and El. Pana means to face or turn toward or to come to or to respect. And El, obviously, we know as the creator. The only way that you can come to or turn to or respect the creator is in your mind, is in your heart, as the brother brought up. And there has to be a filter there. I can go on and on about what we should filter and how we should filter, but at its core, to attack somebody for their spiritual beliefs, to say that they aren't turning to a creator, or that they aren't using their God-given ability to observe the scientific method, or to observe the different points, that the different empirical data that has been set before them, that is not a part of the scientific method, or that they're somehow less intelligent. It shows you're an enemy. You're an enemy to Black people. You're an enemy to those that are trying to become the gods on this earth that we were meant to be. So back to the social memory or the social understanding. I think you brought out epigenetics.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go deep, you know what I'm saying? Because some of this I might use in my debate. Some of this I'm definitely going to be starting to bring out next year. The concept of epi means above. Genetics, obviously, being your genes, right? So the influence of the outside world on your genetic memory becomes extremely influential in your decision-making process. And this is all based upon things you've observed, you've been taught, and it's a culmination of everything. It's not just 1, 2, 3, it's an overall overarching culmination. For these brothers, especially certain of them like Garfield, Sa, they have made specific careers out of only attacking Israelites.
Facts. Yeah.
Right? Now, yeah, they'll sprinkle in a Muslim here or there. They'll sprinkle in, whatever to kind of throw you off the trail. But their entire methodology, their entire approach is to attack Israelites. And I think Taz had talked about this irreparable damage that is being done. You might as well be the puppet or the tool of the colonizer.
Exactly. Esau.
You're Esau, bro. Like, you're the equivalent of the house nigga. And not the house nigga that's working with us, the house nigga that's saying, oh, massa, they finna run.
Facts.
You the house nigga that was happy to put whips and stripes on the back of your brother. You're the definition of wicked. Because there is no hopes of unification. You can say, oh, we're trying to free you. No, you're not. Because if that was the case, your guys would always be on white supremacy. Your guys would always be on racism. But instead, your guys is always focused on the Israelite. Your guys is always focused on, watch this, you'll even team up with the Christian who obviously is teaching plantation religion. They basically hold to the slave Bible. The average Christian is holding on to the slave Bible. Not to say I got a problem. I don't care if you call me a Christian because I'm a follower of Messiah. But I'm talking about in terms of what we know to be Western Christianity today, which is based off of those 32 ecumenical councils that we get from 400 AD on forward. That is Roman Christianity, Western Christianity, colonialism, imperialism at its best. You will team up with that instead of an Israelite whose whole goal or focus started off as being black nationalism. That's the tool of Esau, bro. You're an Idumean. You're a hairy garment.
Facts.
Like, so from my perspective, bro, and I'll take all of them to the task, especially when we start to get into the psychology bag of how that works and why your genetic memory is to attack us. We got to start to look at what your history is. Why we saw so much Ashkenazi in somebody's DNA. Oh, shoot. Let me stop. That's a whole nother.
Facts.
A whole nother thing. Right?
Facts.
The more I watch, the more I see, the more I learn, the more I can see who the enemy is. I'm not telling you that Israelites got it all right. Right? But we definitely ain't the enemy to black people. We definitely not the enemy to black people.
And that's the narrative that they keep trying to spew. You understand what I'm saying? And it's like,
facts.
And it's getting to a point where they'll the most ridiculous things are said, and you could tell that that they don't even believe it themselves. But if they can feel like they can get any up leg to destroy the Israelite, and that's because they're looking for people and they're mining for people who they can simply merchandise to.
Right.
That's it. They're looking for people to merchandise to.
Right.
And it's not to further the conscious community, but it's simply to align their pockets.
Damn. I had a conversation with a brother about that yesterday. You know what I'm saying? And we was talking about how crazy it was to watch the whole scam thing that we saw on that certain channel. And how they just moved on past it, kind of like, like they didn't take people money and like they wasn't calling each other scammer and exposing all the little wicked stuff they was doing behind the scenes. You feel what I'm saying?
Exactly. And here it is again. So I understand what the flare up is about. This is specifically about book sales. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's about book sales. But I'm saying, watch your mouth. Because at the end of the day, like the stuff that you spewing and you saying ain't gonna profit you nothing.
Facts, brother.
Ain't gonna profit you nothing.
Like, don't make me really dig into the book. And actually, I think we really should just go ahead and do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because we've been busy writing our books and putting things together, but we probably need to go ahead and dig into that. See, the concern becomes, why are you going out of your way to use the slavers' attacks and definition tactics against your brother? Like, if you want to disagree with us or whomever with certain biblical believers, there's a way that you can do that under the auspice of Black unity without it turning into what you turned it into.
Exactly.
See what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But you're supposed to be conscious. Go ahead, Madonna.
I'm just gonna say this real quick. I think one of the main problems that I see that haven't been corrected is that I don't think, like, to me, I don't mind people calling me a Christian, that's fine. But I think maybe they look over this, but I think that the distinguishment between Christians and Israelites haven't been truly defined within a lot of these
Yeah.
areas. And
That's a
me
good point.
personally, how I see it, this is how I see it. This not the I want all Christians to take this. No way. I think a lot of Christians to me, they practice the religion about the Messiah, and us as Israelites, we practice the religion of the Messiah. And I think that's the fine line that we haven't been haven't been cleared out all the way. And I just want to say that.
Hey, now go dig into that a little bit more, bro. I mean, I think that's a really good statement. Break that down a little bit more.
Well, because when you look at a lot of Christians, they practice the religion about the Messiah. The thing, you know, and we can see how they carry on in different ways because it's about Jesus, who we call Jesus. And when you look at Israelites, it's strictly law, statute, commandments. You know what I'm saying? And we clearly define that. You see what I'm saying? But with the Christians, it's kind of, I see it's like they follow the religion about Jesus, which is the Western way of doing things. You know, go to church every Sunday. You can be forgiven for whatever you do, no matter what it is. You can just, you know, just forgive yourself. And, you know, you ain't got to do this and you ain't got to do that. And, you know, and there's a lot of, you know, they get into a lot of idolatry. You know, they depend on the cross on their neck. They depend on the Jesus pieces, things like that.
Right. I mean, like that's a solid point, Madame. And so here's the thing. Let me say this because I want to make a clarity about that because I think you bring up a great point, Madame. And so let me share my screen because I want to read this scripture. I want to read the scripture really quickly. And I'm going to read Acts 11 and 26. Right?
When they was first called Christians.
Yeah, let me read this. It says, and when he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch, and it came to pass that for a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught many people, and the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. Now, who are these disciples? Who are these disciples?
They show ain't what we consider to be Christians today.
They ain't what we consider to be Christians today. These were Israelites who we know were still keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. They were still observing the feast days. They were still keeping Shabbat. But this is the first time you hear the word or you see the term Christian in the book. Acts 11, chapter 26. And for those of you Israelites who think you can't be called Christians, that's exactly what you are, according to the scripture.
Because you follow the teachings of the Messiah.
You follow the teachings of the Messiah.
Like it or not, right?
Like it or not.
Now, you could say you don't want to be associated with certain concepts or principles of Western Christianity. That's fine.
Right.
That's fine. But even that, in its respect, a lot of them is still your brethren. So you better figure out a way to interact with them and have conversations with them.
Come.
Because that blood will end up being on your hands too. Right?
Come.
I saw a statement earlier basically saying that one of our brothers that's a part of the tank, you know, you would accuse him maybe of having Roman Christian thoughts or concepts. I don't necessarily say that, right? And even when we get into certain debates, it's about that debate, and then we move on. But even if that was the case, the fact that we are building and growing and we can have certain conversations, certain concepts come out, means that there's a growth process in there. One plants, one waters, the other one reaps the harvest. You won't get to a harvest if you're not planting seeds, if you're not watering. If you're just always on the attack, and this is to bring it back to the whole quote unquote conscious conversation. The whole goal all day is to attack. based upon nonsensical questions, straw men, you know, or finding the worst representative of what it means to be us and then attacking that. Like, you'll find the worst representative of what it means to be an Israelite and try to make that the face of the movement or the culture, when, if we being honest, those people that you're trying to focus on and make the face are probably the smallest faction or group of these group of believers at this point. When you talk about the millions and millions around the world. Sure. So, you know, yeah, it's Esau, bro. Like, to me, it's too simple. You
could tell it's Esau, man, because when it cracks me up, like how you hear a lot of them niggas say, "Oh, you Israelite niggas, y'all the problem in the black community. Y'all holding us back." I'm like, God damn, this shit ain't really been popping. I mean, for real. I mean, yeah, it's been popping like in the underground, in the street, but like for the internet, what, 14 years, 15 years, maybe?
Something like that, right.
And so we to blame? You gonna blame the Israelites for all the problems in the black community, you know what I'm saying, in a 15-year span. So that's how I know this got to be the house of Esau, man, and the den of iniquity, because it's amazing how you can put all this blame on about the whole black community on the Hebrew Israelites. So it's like, goddamn, you know, something rotten in the cotton with that.
And the dopest part is, when you're an Israelite, if you really are a practicer of this belief system, I can leave my religion at the door. Right? When I'm really doing this the right way, I don't got to come and preach to you and teach to you. I can live out my principles and still find black unity. And those that don't do that, we go against them. We're on record with debating and arguing against people who misuse the scriptures in that way. Try to make racism and all of these things the only way for salvation, and because you're not gonna unify a black community doing that. The conversation has to now start to be about putting some of these cats in the bag that they belong in. Like that recent book that came out is just the latest form of Esau type propaganda, bro.
Facts. That's what it is, bro.
All power to the brother. I mean, I'm glad you're writing books.
Yeah,
you probably should do something more productive, though, as it pertains to, you know, if you're gonna use your information. Like, this is
right.
Yeah. Hey, can I bring out this James? Can I bring out this James 1:26 real quick, man?
Yes, sir.
Bring it out, bro.
All right. It's James 1:26. If any among you think he is religious and does not bridle his tongue, but deceive his own heart, this one's religious is useless. Pure and undefiled religion before God and the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their trouble and to keep oneself unspotted from the world.
Come.
That's an excellent verse.
Yeah,
that's absolutely right. And so, and I'm gonna segue into that about understanding exactly what this is. And I brought this out, and I talked about it with my brothers before a bit. And because I hear people still saying, well, Esau is just a white man. And that's what I want to explain. When we're saying this, what we're talking about, right? Because I was having a conversation with Orthodox more, talking about the work that Dana Marnichi is doing and identify who Esau and the Edomites were. And we still see the descendants of these dark Afro-Asiatic black tribes of people today. They still exist in the land today. And these ain't no white folks.
That's true.
These ain't no white folks.
And that's a powerful sister, by the way, man. Shout out to that sister, bro. That sister is so intelligent and got so much information.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And let me share my screen real quick. Let me go in the scripture. I'm gonna just go to Psalms 83. Just gonna go to Psalms 83.
You finna bring out the Confederacy?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring out the Confederacy. Because that's what we see over here. And in Revelations, that when he talks about the synagogue of Satan, that's exactly what they're talking about. Right? And we're talking about Psalms 83, and we get into Psalms 83, we clearly see the Confederacy. And what is that Confederacy? It's a conspiracy. Against who? The children of the Most High.
Facts.
So what it is. But we're going to see if all this is talking about is just the white man. Some of these narratives we got to change so people can get a clear understanding. And so when I say this ain't nothing but Esau and blackface over there on the House of Consciousness, a.k.a. the synagogue of Satan, that's exactly what's going on. Because they want you to denounce your God. They want you to put your religion down. They don't want you to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. They don't want you to do this. They don't want you to do that. They want to tell you you're stupid for believing in religion. They want to tell you you're stupid because you won't follow a scientific method. They want to tell you you're stupid because of this and that, and this and that, and this and that. And when I'm talking about the scientific method, I'm not talking about how we should, as if we should dismiss science. Science is very important, and science is needed. And I don't think the Bible teaches against science, but what it does teach is that science is above the knowledge and understanding of the Most High. It is not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is not. It is not. And so that's why I went into the whole thing about intuitive thinking and intuition, because and the reason why they don't correlate it, or they don't really translate it scientifically as intelligence, is because they can observe it and they can't quantify it. It's beyond their understanding. So they can't logically reason.
That joint calcified, nigga.
It's calcified. It's calcified.
Yeah, let me stop, man.
Exactly what it is, huh? It's calcified. They blind.
Right.
They walk in the spiritual darkness. They blind. They can't see beyond themselves. Right? So let's get into it a little bit, man.
That's funny as shit.
This Psalms 83. Oh, y'all, do not remain silent and do not turn a deaf ear, and do not stand aloof, Yahweh. See how your enemies growl. And that's all them cats over there be doing. Big barks, no bites.
Mm-hmm.
How your foes rear their heads. Like I say, every so often they pop up with something. Let me hit this link. Shout out to Swab Ball.
Shalom, black power.
Shalom, peace to God.
And then he says, with cunning they conspire against your people. They plot against those you cherish. Come, they say, let us destroy them as a nation, so that Israel's name is remembered no more. Right? And this is what you hear. Ain't that the rhetoric you hear from them all the time? This is the whole purpose. Verse 5, with one mind they plot together. They form an alliance against you. Now here's the important thing to understanding who Esau is, and Esau ain't just the white man. It says the tents of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarites, Biblios, Amnon, and Amalek. Now let me go back up a little bit. We clearly see here that the Ishmaelites are among, or are in Confederacy, are in the tents or dwell among Edom. They're Confederacy among Edom. Now, who are the Ishmaelites? Just before we get to the Esau part and the Edomite part, who are the Ishmaelites? These were the descendants of Abraham and Hagar.
That's T-Duck.
Ishmael. Hagar was, I believe in some places they called it that she was an Ethiopian. In some places they just referred to her as an Egyptian. But we know she wasn't white.
Right.
And we know Abraham of the didn't descend from the white man. I'm gonna put you back in here, New Era. Here we go. I didn't kick him out. I'm just going back in. But let me go back in.
I continue with that hogwash, man. Israelites are solid. Go ahead, get my charger.
All right, man. Let me go forward, bro. This is in the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarites. Who are the Hagarites? These were people who were descended from Hagar. Clearly separate. They were offshoot of the Ishmaelites. They were basically first cousins with the Ishmaelites. These Hagarites or Hagarenes in some verses it says. These were people of the desert, out of the African desert, taken into, who migrated into the Levant region. Those people weren't white, but the scripture clearly tells us that these people are confederate against the nation of Israel. Diblios, I believe those are descendants of Phoenicia, who we know weren't white.
None of these people was white.
Amalek, Philistia, and the people of Tyre. Even Assyria has joined them to what? What does this say right here? Verse 8. Even Assyria has joined them to reinforce Lot's descendants. Who was Lot's descendants? Ammon and Moab. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
These weren't black people, family. I mean, white people. It's like these weren't white people. These were people of color. So when folks tell you, oh, Esau is just the white man, that ain't what the scripture's teaching. He ain't just the white man. Esau's seed is among every nation to destroy the righteous people of the Most High.
Bring it out, that's right.
And hopefully I can get Orthodox more to come on at some point, and we could talk about Dana Marnisha's work, and maybe sometime get her on, because she's a powerful sister, because she really goes in and actually show these people who they are today.
And you know, these Esauites and these Idumeans over there on certain channels then tried to come at her and call her pseudo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though she worked directly with Van Sertima and all like it, bro. Like, come on.
Like, it's crazy, bro. And that's what they want to do. They want to create a narrative. They want to create a narrative that simply tells you that, listen, follow what we say.
Let us be your God.
Let us be your God.
I'm the last hope.
Oh, man.
I'm the last hope in yeah, let me stop.
That type food. You see what I'm saying? That's the face of Esau. Will a real Esau stand up?
Hey, yo, and yeah, man, hit the panel, bro. Hit the panel. Since you want to talk about what A9 agree with, hit the panel. Yeah, I'm gonna get y'all right about trying to speak about my thoughts, right? I'm gonna work you out. All respect to the OG.
Don't take away from the left, and then these motherfuckers argue with y'all.
Yeah, no, I feel.
And the thing of it is that we got to understand. But I'll let them on if you hit the panel. We got to understand that, you know, everybody that shows skin color ain't your kinfolk. What's the saying that they got?
Skin folk ain't kinfolk.
Yeah,
Exactly.
ain't kinfolk.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, we got to get away from that particular understanding.
Everybody brown ain't black.
That's a fact.
The problem is we preying on each other like we ain't got other people. You know what I'm saying? Other people
That's
we
a
could
fact.
classify as victims.
Right. And the biggest problem with their message over there is that it's fragmentary.
Man, break that down, because as soon as you said it, I saw it. Break it down.
You see what I'm saying?
No, yeah, like break, because the same thing I've been saying is, yeah, break that. That's
it's
Don't that
fragmentary
mean
because there's
they don't agree with each other until it come to attack the Israelites?
Exactly. And how come? Listen, I'm gonna put it as simple as this. You rather attack me and disparage me, disperse my character, and tear me down, and tell folks that they shouldn't follow me or they shouldn't support me or this, that, or other folks in the community simply because I have a different belief than you.
Yeah,
But
have I become your enemy because I tell you the truth? Go ahead, King.
Exactly, and so what happens? So what happens is they take on exactly the art, and this is why you call them Esau, because of their behavior.
Yep.
They take on exactly the same. They pick up where Esau left off, and they pick up and they say, "Well, let's divide and conquer."
Man,
let's
the
divide
tool of colonial, the tool of the white man, the actual tool of the colonists. That is the actual tool of the colonists. And remember, Esau's supposed to basically make his life blessing or curse, however you want to look at it, is to be a colonist, if you really break it down.
That's it.
Yeah, but what they fail to realize is, I think it's in Corinthians, where it says power is perfected in weakness.
Right.
So let them keep up. Go ahead.
Where you get that from? That sounds like a quote from the nigga that lost.
No, I think that's in 1 Corinthians. It talks about how power is perfected.
It do. It sounds like something you tell your child after they lose. Like, you know.
Nah, man. No. Let's talk about nations as being a nation of people.
Yeah, and the divide and conquer also got a philosophy. They don't just divide us, they divide themselves so that you don't know they are the enemy. Because when the cat, you know, when group A come at you, group B, C, and D and say, oh, they ain't that bad. I mean, they do this every now and then, but you know, they love you like I love you. Man. And then when group B do something, A, C, and D do the same thing. And then when you do something, all of them be like, but look what you did.
Look what
like,
you did.
Like, y'all together. You know what I'm saying? They just like the Democrats and Republicans. Exactly. You know, they together, but they divide themselves publicly for us. So we stand with the Democrats and yell at the Republicans, stand with Republicans and yell at the Democrats. But they've been doing this shuffle for hundreds of years.
And they both working against us.
Facts. If anything could take that long to coalesce together, man, just think about it. Like, this been split for hundreds of years. Yeah. That's purposely, man, because eventually we gonna say, damn, you know what? We just gonna become this and represent all of these minds. But it's like, nah, that mind cannot be with my mind. You a Democrat, you a Republican. It doesn't evolve into something that's bigger than both, that incorporates both.
Right.
They purposely stand divided.
Like, I literally watch people come against me or get mad at me because I wanted to unify and unite with Suave. Right? This was a 2-year fight. It wasn't always this easy for me and Suave to be partners, bro.
Yeah, like, I see that too.
You know what I'm saying? Because we was able to look at it, and yeah, we got some disagreements. But I tell you, the stuff we agree on is fixing and helping our people. And so when it comes to that's the Esau mind, bro. Like, that's what you seeing over there. That's what you seeing in these other groups. Nah, we can't let y'all get together. Because if y'all get, oh no.
That's right. I think this is in Yame. Peace in Yame.
Yeah, that's in Yame.
Peace. What's up? What's up?
Peace to the OG.
Black Power.
Taking shots in the chat.
I'm a sniper. You know how snipers do.
Shalom, you know what I mean?
Peace.
Yeah, I mean, we can even unpack that if you want to, because it stays on the topic. You know, I mean, if you want to bring that out, if you was serious.
Yeah. So when you hear me talk about, and I know capitalism is a philosophy, I'm not really dealing with the philosophy. What I'm dealing with when I talk about capitalism, how it's played out in culture. There's going to be times where you can't turn a profit, and your people has to come first, even if it hurts your pocket. That's what I'm talking about. And so when you see it's not just the House of Consciousness. Look at black channels all over YouTube just falling apart. The man against the woman, brothers against brothers. This is the first time in history black people have ever had a chance to voice our opinion globally. And now we have it, and we tear each other apart. And it's for YouTube views, fame, and a little bit of YouTube money. That's what I'm talking about.
So you saying our morals need to change?
Yeah. Oh, big time.
Appreciate you. Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. And so go ahead, because then I want to expound on it.
I just want to say this: that before we can make any move, that's got to change. Because if we go get a plot of land, we bring the same shit into a plot of land.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that would fall more on the priorities.
I think the priority has to be that shift, though. I mean, if we don't make that shift first, like you said, we basically would be taking old wine and putting it in the new wine skins, which is even worse. Right? We have to get to the point where we have a different ideology. And so even to speak to the capitalistic mindset, see, when I view capitalism as a tool. So when you say, okay, as a capitalist, you got to be prepared to take a loss, that's what I create nonprofits for. Right? If I want to help my people, I create a nonprofit. That way we can donate, people can get tax write-offs. And if there is something where we got to go into the hole, we can do it under the guise and auspice of the nonprofit. And then we use those other businesses to create capital that we can then turn around and use to help the community. There's nothing in capitalism that says that I can't use my money any way I want to once I make the gains. Right? That's a misnomer. The mindset that we can't separate white supremacy from capitalism shows either us not being able to think or us adopting, for lack of a better term, new, and I won't use this other, I won't use that, new talking points, right? And even recycling some old talking points that were used in a time where they had to for propaganda purposes. It becomes financially and economically irresponsible not to teach Black people that we have to start learning how to turn profits in our business and then turn around and use that money to empower and help our people. That's just the only way we can compete right now.
But I think a better word, we need to be economic scientists.
I agree. And just for those that want to learn that, they actually have degrees now called financial engineer, which is something I really might start to look into. But you have to move into the point where you become creative economically. I don't disagree with that at all. I disagree with the anarchy statement or this concept of let's just tear it all down without anything else to give to people, or without any idea of how difficult it would be to actually tear the system down, especially from outside the system, which now we move into tactics and playing chess, basically.
Yeah, you would never have a revolution without an economic theory. So you have to, that has to be in place. But I think we have to be scientists, economic scientists, because you're going to move all over the economic spectrum in this global economy.
Mm-hmm.
There's some times where you can open your markets up completely, and then there's other times where you have to close them up. But it takes a scientific mind to do that.
I agree. And so then let's reel this back into the overall conversation of the fact that you and I, and we've always been able to have these type of conversations and not really ever been too far off, even though I'm this supposedly Bible thumper. When I watch on other platforms, the goal is never to have that type of dialogue. We can do that. Me and Yame can have this dialogue for hours, right? And really start to go into it, break it down, have different nuances to it. Whereas the goal of those other channels is to propagandize or shoot negative propaganda towards a specific portion of the community. I mean, we got to be honest at this point, Israelites are the niggas of the niggas. That's how we basically getting treated at this point. The couple of dollars that people are chasing are usually built off of disparaging an Israelite. Not realizing the more extreme you go, the more extreme you force that person to the other side. I'm not making excuses on either side at that point.
Yeah, and
it's
I think
just go ahead.
I think, real quick, I was just gonna say, I think we don't realize how good we really got it as a people. Speaking to Yame, you know, as a people, we look at, we might have like certain incidents going on, but I mean, as a people, man, when you look around, we kind of got it good. But I think it goes to, like Anon say, morals, and I think also our priorities. I think if we make a lot of things our priority, I think we can make a change on YouTube and outside of YouTube. But I think we got it good, man. It's a lot of stuff at our exposure, but I understand as a people, we still in financial crisis. So that's the, stumbling block. But I think we got it good, man. We just gotta realize it. You know what I mean? And
I disagree with you, but I think we have a good opportunity.
Debate that season 4. Go ahead.
Yeah, opportunity. I think opportunity. Everything is open for
opportunity wise.
Yeah, opportunity.
Yeah,
opportunity.
And that's a very important caveat.
Yeah, the mental state, I think, is worse than it has ever been.
I beg to differ.
I think that's a great debate. I think that's a great debate. And then I could see arguments on either side. I think mentally, I see us entrapped in a lot of ways. And it has a lot to do with the social media and just media propaganda machine, period.
I think we're less fearless.
But that's not always a good thing, though. That's not always a good thing.
I would call it walking chaos at the same time, but I think we're better. I think we're mentally better. I'm gonna tell you what's hard when I hear you say that statement, bro. Like, how are we better when we're destroying each other at alarming rates? That's not to say that I'm blaming us. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But we're doing things to each other now that we would have never thought about doing to each other 50 years ago. Because we needed each other so much. Like, we needed each other so much in our communities that we would have never thought about doing some of the things to each other now that we just do on an everyday basis.
Yeah.
Hold on. I gotta, you know what I'm saying? I gotta push back on something that was said though. Like, Anonymous, you cannot act like Israelites is the fucking victims, nigga.
Hold on. I even said earlier, we go at Israelites that are out here causing a lot of the issues.
Wait, hold on. Let me say this real quick.
But I do think we got to be honest and say though, motherfuckers are making a whole living off of Israelite propaganda all day.
And you got to understand, don't
But
too. The
hold on,
situation is the numbers.
Hold on, see that. Hold on.
Oh, there you go. Go ahead.
But you got to be for real, bro. It's
No,
like the
the thing,
whole.
it ain't.
Hold on.
No,
T-Duck, shut up. T-Duck,
it's
shut
not the
up.
organization, bro.
Shut
Go
up.
ahead.
T-Duck, shut up. Thank you. You cannot act like the Israelite paradigm as it is on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? In terms of how Israelites build platforms on YouTube isn't based around the demonization of black communities. All black people are going to hell. All black people are, you know what I'm saying, doing XYZ. You feel me? Like when I was just in Kansas City, nigga, it was some IUIC niggas in front of the library, bro. Nigga, my pops telling me how he almost got into it with some of these niggas because nigga, they pointing at him all in his face, nigga, talking about you going to hell and all of this extra shit.
Right.
You feel me? And so when we talk about like how platforms are built in general, Hebrew, not even just Hebrews, but Hebrews specifically, since that's what we're talking about, can utilize, you know what I'm saying, demonizing blackness, demonizing black communities, demonizing black music, demonizing black culture as a way to say this is all of the devil and this is everybody going to hell. And then when niggas push back and be like, nah, y'all niggas is indoctrinated, y'all got us fucked up. You can't say that now niggas are Israelites or the niggas are black people. Like, nah, the basis of
simplifying. I think you're oversimplifying my argument. But keep going.
No, bro. What I'm saying is, I understand like not all Israelites are the same, right? Just like not all, you know what I'm saying, like quote unquote comedic or whatever artist is not the same. But hold on, real quick.
All right, so just to push back a little bit, like I said, I'm on record of being one of the staunchest opponents to some of the things that my Israelite brothers say, right? And then the other point that I made is it almost falls into the same gaze of white supremacy to judge us by probably the smallest faction of us. I know we think that the camps, like the IUICs and all that, are the biggest representative. The Israel of God in Chicago is really honestly the largest organization of Israelites around the globe. They're massive, and they don't teach those things. They don't teach the hate of people and all niggas is going to hell, and they don't teach that, right? The vast majority of Israelites really honestly fall into the ideology or the scope of being what we call now moderates, which is the now the biggest attack that we see coming from the urban apologists. Because we're not teaching those things. We're not out here browbeating saying everybody going to hell. We're not even out here telling you that every black person is an Israelite, right? I get into arguments with plenty of Israelites about these things all the time. So to act as though like to choose to represent us with the group that everyone else has chosen to put on that pedestal for that reason, for the goal of attacking them, as if there is no other representation of Israelites. Right?
But let's be clear though. What are we talking about? We talking about specifically the way things that like the conversation that happens on YouTube. So when we talk about like how people build YouTube channels, how they build platforms, like the way that these niggas are able to build that following is by demonizing black people. I'm not saying that that's all of the Israelite paradigm. I'm saying like we specifically talking about how people monetize an audience or how they monetize a message to develop an audience, right? And uniquely, the Israelite platforms that have the biggest followings are the ones that are the most anti-black. The ones that have the biggest followings on YouTube are the ones that, like Captain Tazariak, for example, is a more prominent example of a YouTube Israelite who routinely demonizes, for example, Africans. Like he was able to grow his platform.
Let me get this out before I go to work, bro.
Nigga. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to say. See, the problem that y'all have is y'all get these camps and the whole ideology or the nation-like type situation confused. Like, the whole thing is that you got a bunch of brothers that's really good and really cool trying to save a lot of other motherfuckers that only trying to save themselves. So amongst the good brothers, you got shady ass people doing shady ass shit, but it's not falling upon those individuals who's just using the organization. It's looking like the organization is doing bad. And you have that with every organization. So that's the play. So they gotta be better. I mean, if you're gonna fault the Israelites for anything, they gotta do a better vetting of their membership. Because it's always quality over quantity. But I mean, we just gotta get to the point to where, like, regardless of what an organization is, you got a standard or a code that's, where you ain't preying on your own people. Like, and that's it. But that's all I'm gonna say. I'm about to get back to work.
And then I'll just go ahead, Domo, because I know you want to get it off.
Nah. So pretty. I mean, besides what T-Duck was talking about, pretty much, essentially, it's just that we can't, like, when you make the statement specifically that Israelites are the niggas, it's like, nah, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you look at what
on this
sells,
YouTube, now you kept it into the YouTube world. So we talking about the YouTube world. We are in this YouTube world. Out of us niggas that are conscious, Israelites are viewed as, oh, y'all niggas, y'all niggas, like y'all ain't shit, because all y'all doing is just demonizing black people without taking to a divine prospect. Like I said, the Israel of God, Hebrew nation building. I mean, these are all massive organizations and continuing to grow that are not teaching anything like that. But instead of focusing on and giving them bigger platforms, the Dante Fortsons of the community, the Orthodox Moors, you know what I'm saying? I could just start going on and on down the list who are unapologetically pro-African, who are unapologetically pro-black people. Instead, we focus on those who have been given that platform by Sinetta, if we're going to be honest, for the goal to attack Israelites. I mean, we obviously see this.
Right. It's like this. When you look at Africa, right? The propaganda that was against Africa. When I was growing up.
Well, I mean, but hold on. But I think that's what I'm saying. I think you overemphasize to say that. I think you overemphasizing the focus that people like Sinetta, because of his platform, put on these Israelite conversations. Because, like, to be for real, most intellectuals, you know what I'm saying, aren't arguing about Hebrew Israelite shit. Like, if niggas believe that shit, that's cool. Like, I got family that's on that shit, that's been on that shit. I ain't never went back and forth with niggas about that shit until I seen what niggas do on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why, like, the Hebrew Israelite period, or the Israel, not even, because niggas didn't call it Hebrew Israelite, but the black people being the Israelites of the Bible paradigm ain't nothing that niggas found on YouTube. Like, you find that culturally. You know what I'm saying? It's the conversation that happens uniquely on YouTube in quote unquote the conscious community. And that's why I feel like that, like, you operate more from, if you look at it from the conscious community framing, from Sinetta treats Israelites on YouTube like the niggas of niggas.
Okay, but then let's look at his offshoots. Dagger Squad.
Let me say something.
Yeah, but if you look at the offshoots, yeah, because they offshoots to him.
That's what I'm saying. But those are the largest platforms in the quote unquote conscious community. That's just what it is.
I mean, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like that.
What it is propaganda.
But that's the focus on the conscious community. Hold on.
One at a time. We can't hear everybody.
Yeah, I know.
Hold on, real quick.
Let me get my point out.
We having a
I know we are having it. We on the same topic, but you had
rudely hold on, my nigga. I wasn't done because I wasn't done talking,
my brother. So can I please finish out my thought before I lose it, please?
I wasn't done talking.
Do that, yo. Can I please?
My nigga, I said I wasn't done talking
because you did interrupt me, brother.
Because I wasn't done speaking.
Y'all come on,
my thought. Let me finish it, bro.
That's what I'm saying. When I'm done speaking, you can do it when I'm done. Like, I'm trying to
figure
out what's hard about this.
And I had started speaking.
No, the fuck I wasn't. That's my point. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. I wasn't done speaking.
I forget it, bro.
I was responding, bro. Wait till I'm done, nigga. Don't forget what you gonna say. When I'm done speaking, you can say what the fuck you gonna say. Like,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Domo. You gonna have the floor. You can real quick.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying.
So
Like, because what I'm the point that I'm making is that like, yes, the conscious community is built on Israelites versus. I ain't gonna say built on. Excuse me. The conscious community is marketed as Israelites versus conscious or woke or comedics or whatever. Right? That's what like those back and forth, those conversations is what it's built on. Now, because Synagouge has the largest platform in this particular community, then that's where the narrative is situated around. But I think what's a more productive approach, especially if you feel like that narrative is harmful or counterproductive, is to detach from the value system of the conscious community. You know what I'm saying? Because like if we like, that's how Synagouge in that camp and them offshoots, that's how they treat Israelites. You know what I mean? And that's counterproductive to the overall conversation. And that means that type of conversation shouldn't be the basis of how we interact. We shouldn't start from that standpoint and say, well, that's what we're responding to. It's like, well, we don't need to do that. We don't need to go back and forth with niggas about that shit. We don't need to try to prove things to people who are invested in only tearing this shit down. That's why when Jeremiah, Judah, and them always say the Israelites that take their ass over there and do, y'all should be more mad at them because that's what's keeping them relevant. The reason why this conversation, I'm saying you should be the frustration should be more with the Israelites who continue to feed that narrative as opposed to, I think it's enough to go around though. Yeah. Because but if we talking about being productive, like that's my thing. Like, yeah, so we can blame everybody. I can point my finger, yeah. But then who are we holding more accountable? If we saying that the doctrine of the Israelite doctrine is something that like I believe in, so the people associated with that, like it's just like Synagouge and them gonna do what they do. They made money off of that conversation. Why the fuck would they not do it?
So that makes it acceptable? Because they're gonna do what they do and make money.
No, it's not a question of it's not a question of making it acceptable. It's a question of where you're gonna dedicate your time. Are you gonna invest your time in challenging Synagouge? Are you gonna invest your time? Are you gonna invest your time? Are you gonna invest your time in actually talking to Israelites about not engaging and investing in that conversation? Because if I'm an Israelite and you're an Israelite, I'm more. You can't though, because you said that's why you sitting here saying that we the niggas.
It's a massive group. It's a massive group of Israelites, bro.
I'm aiming at Synagouge, and I'm fucking with the Israelites that don't move.
But
like
you're not an Israelite though. But you're not Israelite.
I mean, but the conversation ain't just about Israelites. The conversation is about black people.
The point that I was making.
No, I got the point you was making. I got the point.
Hold on, because you responded to what I said.
I know, and I responded to it with my point. And my point was that I do not separate us by Synagouge and Israelites. We're black people. Black people are being held accountable. Hold on, bro. No, they cannot separate themselves. They don't have that power. I don't see because a motherfucker go over there, walk over there, and say I'm an Israelite. I say, oh damn, he made himself no longer black. I'm not a child. Like, I still see what's going on. So hold on. Be patient. Get off the end of my fucking sentence. Let me get my point out.
As you hopped on the end of mine.
You've been going for 15 minutes, bro.
I ain't been going for 15 minutes.
You literally have, bro. You literally have.
What is this?
So
what are you doing?
So what I'm saying is that Synagouge held responsible. Light is given to the Israelites that don't move extreme, and the Israelites that say the weird shit. I let somebody kill my mama because she white. We closer to the white man than the African. African kids can't eat. We get on their ass too. I don't turn a blind eye to Synagouge because, well, that's just what Synagouge do. That don't make me not attack him. Synagouge gets to work.
Who said you turn a blind eye to any? Like who? Where does that come from?
When I hear words like, well, that's what Synagouge do. That's somebody saying, what's the sense of even going at him? Like you just said, are you going to waste your time? Yes.
No, that's not. But see, that's what I'm saying. You're taking what I said out of context.
You called it wasting your time.
No, bro, you're taking what I said out of context. What I'm uniquely talking about the perspective that the Israelites are the niggas of niggas. I'm saying that is something that's created by the narrative that Sarnetta pushes and the way he's able to bring Israelites on and continue that narrative. I'm talking about from the perspective of somebody like Anonymous, like somebody that is a Hebrew Israelite, or excuse me, an Israelite of the Bible. I ain't trying to do the whatever. But
you know, I
yeah.
I know
but you know what I mean.
If I need to.
Yeah. But I'm saying if I'm in that position, right, and I'm looking at the way that my people are being framed uniquely, because I know you're saying, oh, I saw black people, but uniquely Israelites over there saying we are Israelites. If I'm looking at it from that perspective, then I'm looking at I got a problem with Sarnetta, but I'm like, yo, why are you making yourself cannon fodder? Why are you turning yourself into a target and allowing yourself to be manipulated for those narratives as opposed to us detaching ourselves away from it?
Right, but see,
as an Israelite.
I see what you're saying, but listen, let's just say we do go to that person and we try to nicely talk to them and explain, because you know they're grown. You can't make somebody do anything. You can only just give some advice. So what do you do when you do give that advice to that Israelite and be like, look, this is the propaganda, this is the game that they're trying to play. Yo, maybe we need to avoid that. And they like bump that. They just want to try to get their numbers because they're trying to, you know, basically continue the indoctrination. I mean, what do you do then? I was talking to you, Domo.
Yeah, I think he tending to Huey right quick.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Nah, I heard you. I'm saying I think that's the point though. Like what you just described was literally like this. The outcome is still the same when you like challenging Sarnetta. Like that's like you still talking about grown people that's gonna do what they want to do. But I'm talking about what's the effort. You feel me? Because it's like it's a machine. Like you feed it. You feed the beast, and the more you feed it, the bigger it grows. So as long as it's constant food to feed a narrative that the Israelites are bad for black communities, that the Israelites are this, as long as it's Israelites that are feeding that narrative, that's feeding that beast, then it's gonna continue to grow. It's gonna continue to have that value. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to disconnect, like saying we are disconnected from what y'all consider the conscious community. We are disconnected from that value system. We are disconnected from those narratives because of the purposeful monetization of and misleading nature of what's being done. Because of this dishonest and disingenuous nature of the way that these conversations take place, we not feeding into that. And while y'all and again, and like I said, that's not ridding nobody a responsibility. It's more so, who are we more responsible for? Because it's like, just like when it comes to white people, it's like, shit, when you got niggas out there, when it's niggas and white people out there doing the same type of shit, it's like, yo, hey, y'all could bring y'all ass home. What them white folk out there doing, that's them. What they put them said, bring your ass home though. Y'all don't need to be out there with that. You know what I mean? And
yeah, that's not how I face problems. I just don't see that as I don't see no value in that, bro. That to me, that just like, you know, I don't get that, bro. Because I see if it's like somebody bullying you and he's like, ignore the bully. If you don't fight the bully cannot fight you. But you're not fighting. Hold on. And we also not putting ourselves up for cannon fire. Okay, so if you could use that, then you could get my metaphor and saying bully, because somebody's constantly hitting you in the back of the head, whether you pay attention to it or not. When you tune back into Sarnetta, or you tune to somebody who's been around the Sarnetta, and they come with this attitude toward black people because they're Israelites. Damn, that means somebody's talking about you. You gonna just ignore it and go over here and, you know, like, no, I'm finna roll up on you.
Yeah.
Nothing. I'm finna roll up on you. Especially if you the bigger platform.
And get you more views, get you more.
If that comes,
that's what make you cannon fodder.
If that comes, so what? But the point is, this mentality will be respected, just like his mentality is respected. I mean, not by everybody, but everybody don't respect his mentality. So what I'm saying is that I'm going to get my mentality out, and people are going to hear it and be swayed from that. Some people not, but some people be like, "Damn, I've been sitting up and listening to this nigga talk about these niggas the whole time and never went and listened to these niggas." I just been agreeing with what he been saying. So when you go over there and you smack him, especially when he looks stupid, especially when he can't answer questions, especially when he run from stuff he said before, that makes him look weak. Now, sure, he could go do the propaganda thing again, but whether you like it or not, you gain validity. The real nigga saw you come over there and smack that nigga, and that nigga cowered and kicked you off the panel or overtalked you or let 40 more people on again, whatever it is. The real saw that. Now the general group of consumers who just go with what's popular, not worried about that. That's why I also disagree, on the sentiment that Yami said we have to change. We will never be 100% nothing. We got to take the people who fucking with us now, who got the mentality, who good with money, who's good with family, who could be trusted, and we got to make a move. And other people will just see it and they'll come in, but. That's why when Domo made the comment.
But that's exactly what I was saying. So what you just
said, I know. That's what I said. When you said, well, the Israelites sat on the corner and condemned people with the that ain't the way to move. Get the fuck out of people's face. Go build what needs to be built, and motherfuckers will come fuck around. I get that, but that don't mean I'll be like, my baby mama, she just gonna do what she do. She just abuse the kids and feed them. Hell no. I'm finna do something about that. I can't accept the evils of somebody.
Yeah, the thing about it is, I think I'm speaking more to, it ain't about accepting the evils of somebody, but it's allowing somebody else to shape how you understand your value and what you are, like uniquely. You know what I'm saying? And I guess the way that I look at it is, if I'm a Hebrew Israelite, Sanetta's channel is like the worst form of blasphemy, it's the worst form of bullshit. Like, there's no way that I could partake in that and be over there and trying to be a part of those conversations, when ultimately every engagement that is being, as an Israelite on that platform, is being used, manipulated, and crafted to have be a part of a particular narrative. Now, I get it, right? You got some people, because I think even like Kataza found ISUPK from watching Sinetta channel. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm not saying that there isn't any validity in going over to them spaces, engaging in them spaces. But when I said that the issue is that there's always somebody that's wanting to go over there because they view it as value. Like, I'm important because I was on Sinetta's platform, but the extent of your engagement is ridicule. Like, as much as I'm like, Sinetta, that's some punk ass shit, nigga, I'm pulling this nigga to the side like, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I'm saying? That's not that. It's really a question of what are we prioritizing and what are we focusing on? It's like, if we all right, we focused on challenging Sinetta. All right, cool. Then go ahead, keep popping your ass up on there. Keep, you know what I'm saying, having the same conversations, keep getting booted, keep going to your own channel, talking shit about Sinetta just to get the invitation to come right back. It becomes circular very easily. You know what I'm saying? Very easily.
Well, Domo, let me interject really quick. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's an impact on the culture of a segment of Black people as a whole? Because we know all Black people don't listen to everything all Black people do.
Right.
But there's a segment, there's a segment audience or segment culture that comes along with that audience that has some type of impact. Do we understand really what that impact is? And is it valuable?
We do understand what that impact is.
Which is just to clarify.
What the impact is the value system, like shaping.
Absolutely.
Why and how this is important.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
And that's why I don't want what I'm saying to come off as we should completely abdicate our responsibility to challenge destructive thought processes and that type of shit. We shouldn't do that at all. But I think when you're dealing with Like when you're dealing with these larger platforms, I think it's a question of how strategic are we in engaging these platforms. And the problem is that when you got somebody that got clout like that, and when you got somebody that got views like that, nah, I got him. What happens is it's more we focus more on the exposure instead of, you know what I'm saying, the strategic nature of it. You feel me? That's why it's like the way that side
dig that.
Yeah, so like the way that Sinetta engages with, for example, JJ 7000 and how he engages with Captain Tazariak. You feel me? Captain Tazariak know how to go on Sinetta platform and be beneficial. You know what I'm saying? To build up the ISUPK, right? Because they demand respect over there. They make sure like that nigga you either operate the way you're supposed to, or nigga I ain't coming over here and fucking with you. Period. Right? Like that's a strategic way to approach that. But then you got the JJ 7000s who's just like, look, we on Sinetta. Like no matter what. Like no matter what the fuck is happening. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's just like we're there. Like, and I'm bringing people with me and we're all talking about what we care about. And look, you know what I'm saying? And that's where it's like, ooh, you doing niggas a disservice.
Yeah, and if we standing like that, like real talk, JJ shouldn't agree to go on there unless YARAH is welcome. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but that because obviously that's what motherfuckers do, man. They pick out the more extreme, the more, you know, easily to, you know, but then when they dealing with people that actually, you know, well, no, all that means is this, simply this. They don't like that. They like motherfuckers to get up there and say stupid, extreme, unthought of, unevolved mentality. You know, they good at attacking slogans from the 60s, the 70s. But the moment you critically think and say, shit, I'm checking myself. Volume say in the back, I don't know if it's wrong, but when niggas say like me, Black Power, like Domo, I kind of agree. And they say, well, the Israelites are the niggas that are black, you know. I can make the argument that Black Power is. Because Black Power is getting drugged. And it's like, to me, the only reason the Israelites is catching that slack is because Black Power is dead in the house of consciousness.
Agreed, Suave.
You know what I'm saying? Agreed. So I'm like, that's crazy. Like, motherfuckers done just threw us to the side, and we know we just some broke, dusty niggas living in abandoned buildings, you know, sucking off at 6-7 different women, trying to sell their food stamps and shit. Like, that shit is crazy to me. Right. Now, when I look at the Israelites, Tazariak, Gorilla Hebrew, it was a lot of brothers over there that was Israelites that was respected and had a movement, and yeah, they was kicking them in the nuts. But I think it's just that fight. That's what you got to do with a certain sect of people because they there for that. They dress like war. They got fucking protective gear on their wrists and shoulders and chests and shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's like the Muslims come around. They like, assalamu alaikum. You know, man, sit your ass over there. Okay, we see you. And then, you know, it's a clear difference, bro.
Yeah, but see what it is the movement is really growing. You know what I'm saying? It's growing, you know what I'm saying, from a positive standpoint when you got the IOG and people like that. But you also got it growing from a negative standpoint from ISUPK, IUIC, and Sakari. And Sakari is really getting big now. I don't see what they're doing. But the thing is this, is the propaganda of it. You know what I'm saying? I was going to mention Africa. You know, when I grew up as a little kid, you know, they depict Africa like this, just some poor country with flies, you know, around your face and all this other stuff. Now that I grew up and you got people like Inyame, you know what I'm saying, and people like Asar Carr, you know, who can show a different depiction of Africa, you know what I'm saying, where you see industrial cities and you see, you know what I'm saying, the wealth that some of the leaders are making over there. So it's all about propaganda, man. It's about trying to sway people away from us.
It's about playing on people's ignorance. And that's why people like Sakari and them blow up. Because they're looking for empty-headed. We looking for bosses. We looking for leaders. And 9 times out of 10, we already started something. So it's not, I'm coming to follow YARAH. I'm coming to implement what I've started into what YARAH started. You see what I'm saying? Like with them, they just looking for somebody to follow, bro. And you gotta look at the like real talk, the mentality of these people. Fucking motherfuckers go broke. Motherfuckers let niggas fuck on a girl. Motherfuckers do all type of stupid shit that I be like, we don't do that. And I'm talking about black people. We don't do that. Even for religion, we don't do that.
Right.
My God is not telling me to let you sleep with my wife. That's just it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's crazy. So that I don't be jealous of that, man. That's what I say, man.
To be for real, like this is what I agree with Suave when you say that. Like I say, niggas are the niggas of black people. You feel me? Because like what we have today is a world where niggas, like black people, are more invested in value systems that devalue black shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like whether it's black speech, whether it's black clothes, whether it's black culture, like the rise of, you know what I'm saying? Black conservatives have always been around, but the rise of black conservative talking points in mainstream black conversations is reflective of how, like, we moving away from like the way that we value black shit. Even the niggas that be like, man, back in the day, like back in this time, we was closer, and we was what they speaking to is a more suppressed, a more confined blackness that looked like what white people was okay with. Was
willing to accept, yeah.
And that's the problem. Because that's what I was saying, even Israelites can sit and talk and demean black culture, and people be like, yep, they making sense. You know what I'm saying? Yep, they own something. That's why that's, you know what I mean? And that's why Sinetta can play with, the curses and this type of shit. Because there are Israelites that have large platforms that depend on those types of narratives in order to build their audience. You know what I mean? To where it's outside it. Because like for real, like a lot of the Israelite conversation be more political than it be spiritual. It'd be more about, you know what I'm saying, like more so maintaining certain social statuses, social understandings, as opposed to like free, like the soul or the spirit. You know what I'm saying? It's more so about following a strict guideline that's considered acceptable under these particular standards. You know what I'm saying? Like, because of that, blackness being something that's just recently, I mean, niggas got to think about it. Just recently, black people able to just kind of explore, you know what I'm saying, like thought and art and all other type of shit. You feel me? Without being forced into particular boxes. And the problem is that even the way that black people trying to explore shit now, that's where you get this pushback on, well, nah, that ain't, we don't really, you feel me? Instead of allowing blackness to expand and be bigger and greater, you feel me? And that's what sets niggas apart. That's why you got niggas today that can run an entire channel talking about black power and shit. That's why you got niggas like Kevin Samuels who can sit there and just demean and tear down black women and get 1 million fucking followers off of that shit, 1 million subscribers off of that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, you in a white majority fucking situation. Like, you know, I really just see it that easy, man. If you're on some anti-black shit, you're gonna get 1 million white viewers, and you're gonna get 1,000 black people comment in the chat, and they're gonna think these 1,000 black people are your 1 million subscribers.
Right. Oh, bro. So you was just listening to Sue Surf, nigga. That's what you was doing. You can't believe conversations, nigga. Yes, you were.
I can't stand Sue Surf, bro.
Surf was saying that about battle rap. He was saying that that the fan vote was trash because we think that it's niggas that look like us doing the fan vote, but it's like, nah, niggas ain't on caffeine. These white boys on caffeine. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, even I hate to do it to him, but motherfucking Young Pharaoh, niggas ain't following. I mean, yeah, do we got a lot of niggas that follow Pharaoh? Yeah, bro, it's white people. When he started talking that anti-democratic shit, that deep state shit, that's when Young Pharaoh became the nigga who he is today.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's when he blew the fuck up.
And I agree. And that's why I say sometimes even when we look at the viewership over here on SVDL, this is 100% black platform. Pretty much. You understand what I'm saying?
Without a doubt.
Like 100%. So our narratives don't filter over to those who are non-black. That the viewership goes up in a pseudo sense as to where there's a popularity that exists on other platforms because you're looking at inflated numbers from other groups or other people who never gone through our experiences. You see what I'm saying? And so that's why I say when you have with the numbers and the consistency of people that we see even over here on these platforms like SVDL, the Argument League, even on your show, Double, and shows like Orthodox More, those are true people, those are true numbers. Those are true numbers, right? And impactful numbers. Because when you get at, like you said, when you get at high inflated numbers like that, like I don't know, 20, 30,000 black folks listening to nobody every day like that.
Nobody.
You see what I'm saying?
Nobody.
It's if you understand the analytics. You see what I'm saying? And so like that's why I say like we gotta be careful about thinking popularity of somebody on these platforms is strictly based on the amount of people, the amount of numbers that they have.
Can I say something about that?
Absolutely. Go ahead. Let me.
You got to get up on your microphone so we
right.
can
Orthodox More and Volume. Orthodox More. I know you've been on here, bro. You want to say something before I let Volume go?
Oh yeah, I can go after Volume. It's cool.
Okay. Peace, family. Go
I
ahead,
was
Volume.
real tank of you, YARAH.
Nah, I respect it. Peace to the panel. I wanted to say this real quick before we go away from the Sonetta issue. If we are, I don't want to have y'all.
No, that's what this whole stream about.
That's what the whole stream about, fam.
Cool. So this is something that I talk about a lot. Talk about a lot in my circle, and I agree with something that Domo said. I might have slight variances with what he said, but I agree with what I think was the overall point, at least at one point when he was speaking. Now, a lot of my Israelite brothers, I'm an Israelite. A lot of my Israelite brothers might not like this point.
Brace yourself.
But I feel like a lot of Israelites is selling out by going on Sonetta simply because they see that they can make a little money from doing it. And if we're going to talk about this, again, y'all know every time I come, I'm not going to make it a Bible thing. But if we're going to talk about Israelites, right? As far as what the Bible is saying, I don't know how we justify doing what we do on Sonetta page. Because Sonetta is constantly like, okay, this is a debate league over here, right? So we know there's going to be various opinions. People going to say whatever they say based on their personal beliefs. Cool. But Sonetta's platform has become centered solely around blasting off against Israelites. He's constantly attacking our God. He don't exist. Y'all niggas are stupid. Y'all serve a spook God. I'm your God, Israel. The Most High sent me. Like, this is he's just straight blasphemous. So I don't understand why Israelites continue to go on that platform.
Agreed.
Because it's almost like you throwing yourself in the fire for no reason. You can't win. And what I mean by that is you could be completely right. You could like Suave said, you could go up there, shut Sonetta down and make him look stupid for the people who understand. But his audience is so vast and they so much gonna go with whatever he say. Even if you win, you lose. Because you get 50 videos made, that he slice it up, edit it up, cut it up, make it look like he cut you in his words. It's like, I don't get why we do that. When we got brothers, YARAH got tanks, mad people got platforms. Why can't Israel say, you know what? We're going to come together collectively. We're going to support each other on our platforms. We're going to boycott Sonetta thing. I don't understand why we don't do that. Now, again, I'll be brief, but Sonetta is making, currently at least, the majority of his income by talking about Israelites. That's a fact. If you know about Kimmon on trial, and what happened here and the amount of money they made from Kimmon on trial, Sonetta saw what it was. He said,
$1.2 million.
Exactly. Sonetta's eyes, the cartoons, you get the dollar signs in the eyes? Yes.
How y'all know it hit 1.2 mil?
Hey, that pay-per-view shit, bro. If you remember, Polite was working with Sonetta, right? And they was trying to send them contracts to Pharaoh and Seti to sign, and they said, we ain't signing that shit. Even after Sonetta found out that Polite stiffed him, he still went back. That mean that was a bag. Like, okay, you got me. But if you do that pay-per-view shit, bro, like, who remember how much they was charging? They was charging, $50 at times.
Yep. And if you did the math on themselves, just from
that
the
was
pay-per-view
horrible,
alone,
'cause
you see they cleared $1
he
million.
didn't go
And
well.
that's my point. So after that happened, Sarnetta's eyes started spinning in his head. He was like, oh, this is the move. This is the bag. And since then, he's been going super hard trying to keep that Kemet Israelite conflict going, because that's where his money is at. Think about it. Back in the day, I've been around for a long time.
On top of that,
I've been around for a long time. I remember Sarnetta was out there with the bullhorn and all that. It was a completely different platform. Now, any given time you click on this path, he's going to be up there with the Bible, sitting up there with Nepal, thinking that she breaking scriptures down. It's just constant Bible, because that's where his money is at. So last thing I'll say is this. I feel like as Israelites, we should say, you know what? We're not going to support that because we see what he's doing. So we're going to talk to each other or whatever. We're going to build on another platform. That's what, and I'm not disregarding. I'm not disregarding this one because, like I said, this is a debate league, so it's fair over here, Israelite against whoever.
But still, if you're just joining this debate league to bang on Israelites, you're not welcome.
Exactly, and that's the point I'm making. So I'm gonna fall back, but I heard the conversation. I was like, let me jump on because I be saying this to my Israelite fam all the time. We should not be dealing with Sarnetta at all because he's using us for a come up. And he completely disrespect our power. And on a biblical level, we ain't supposed to deal with that. We supposed to shake the dust off our feet and keep it moving. So I'm gonna fall back.
All right, brief 30 seconds. I mean, I agree.
I mean, it do be tough, but
can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
we go ahead. I hear.
No, yeah, I'm just gonna be real quick. Most Israelites agree with you, boy. I mean, we know this because we've been around for a minute. These are the conversations that are had in private. Right. Exactly. This is so one person you see who is kind of taking the mantle up on that is Divine. Divine has made it clear, like, unless it's something that'll be beneficial, he's not on there. He fell back from being on there a lot. So you commend the brother for that. Right. I think this conversation is though more about how those particular platforms are used as a tool, basically, as an extension of white supremacy, in my opinion. Right. Especially if we're looking at it from an Esau perspective and not just saying Esau is only white, right?
Right.
I mean, we're talking about right. We're talking about just the complex of how that works. Like they're an extension of that. Whether you agree with the Israelite paradigm or not, we have to admit that that particular platform and his offshoots have made a living off of solely or mainly attacking Israelites. Right, with a little of other stuff sprinkled in between.
Yep.
I don't think you should go in there and be like JJ 7000 is, in my opinion, the worst representative of who should be on there in the first place. Right. But you shouldn't be on there allowing him to do you the way that these people do. I would never allow that to happen. So I know more wanted to get it in. So I wanted to just throw that. It's not that I don't disagree with that point. I don't think most Israelites would disagree. I'm just saying we talking about this from a perspective of that's what they've been doing. And
but they clear because he said he doesn't know why. Because we're social beings. And a lot of the times we pay attention to the 3 girls that don't want us than the 2 that do.
Right.
The people that agrees with us, okay, cool. I want the attention of the people who don't. And it's that feeling because people say, man, I don't fuck with y'all. And you say, but brother, we don't eat pork, we don't cheat on our girls, and we got an economic plan. Damn, I fuck with y'all. And we want to see that because that's a hell of a feeling. And we want to see that over and over and over again, but we can't. A lot of the times it's hard to decipher to be able to accept when a motherfucker just the devil, no matter what you do. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the reason why a lot of people turn their attention to Sarnetta, even though there's other platforms that treat them better. And on top of, he has the largest progress. It worked. We saw people go over there, get some light, and walk away with a following. It worked. So people gonna always put faith in what they seen work, even if it's a detriment to them at times. But in the expression of boycotting Sarnetta, I don't think this should just be an Israelite thing. Like I said, I respect you guys by being Israelites in nation, but you're black. You're black. And I see black men being attacked because they're Israelites. I don't see Israelites being attacked because they're Israelites. And I think everybody that's non-Israelite should also join in to that movement, because once they get the Israelites out the way, Muslims, you next. Black power, you next. It don't stop. It's the attack on black people from within.
Facts.
That's what I'm fucking furious at.
Facts. Big facts. Like, so I'm not mad at Synagouge for what he does, man. Get your money, dog. Like, I'm just gonna say this. Like, so the structure of what he built his money on is not giving us the answer, right? It's keeping us divided. It's organized division, right? Mm-hmm. He started off with the simple, way back. He started off with the simple division of Abrahamic faith versus African traditions and whatnot, splitting black people up on that divide, and then trying to find more lines of division in between that. And when he would have a big gathering. At the end of it, people would always be talking about, like, now we need to come together and make an agreement on how we're going to do this, that, and that, third. And then he would always try to switch it up to like another debate down the road. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he's the Don King of conscience. You know what I'm saying? Like, just is what it is. The question is, what are we gonna do? Right? I don't care about boycotting this down there. Like, I just don't participate. I'm not seeking to be on this channel. Like, I see what it is, and I really don't care. I'm like there's a bunch of Israelites that came through like Zion Lex. I think y'all was talking about Mighty Hebrew. Who else? Divine Prospects. So they came through talking about, like, yeah, Synagouge got issues. They was all blowing shots at Synagouge and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But again, it's not just targeting Israelites. It's our whole community, people of African descent in this country. Period. Right. Because his whole paradigm is division. So my question to us is, what are we gonna do over here? In comparison, like, so season 1, Suave, like, I came at you and was like, hey man, how can we build? And he was like, nah man, you're a Moor, we can't build. And I was like, what if I call myself a black Moor? Right, that's season 1. It didn't go down. Maybe season 4 it goes down.
Hey, we'll see. Out of Moorish traders to the black people.
Hell no.
I mean, but also when we ask that question of what do we do, I think we got to ask it in context. What do we do in terms of our engagement with media? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like as a group of individuals who are invested in a particular media platform, what do we do? You know what I'm saying? And I think what we do over here is the best example of that. You know what I mean? Like, it's times when the shit go left, and when, you know what I mean, niggas be over here yelling at the top of their lungs and all that other shit. But ultimately, I think the niggas that's left and the niggas that's coming back are focused on one thing, and that's entertainment through competition and education. You feel me? Like, at the end of the day, regardless of who you think won or lost, niggas are gonna be invested or whatever. But people watching go learn something. You can learn something.
See, I'm coming through in season 4 trying to deal with unity through competition and entertainment and education. You feel what I'm saying?
You said you trying to what?
I'm dealing with unity through education and competition and entertainment. You see what I'm saying?
But the unity is the lead. The unity is like that.
Yes and no. That's why I was just making that reference to me and Suave in season 1 versus season 4.
Well, nah, I mean, but see, that's what I'm saying though. Like, unity don't gotta be like we linking up and doing.
Unity looks like the places we agree, we move forward. The places we disagree, we respectfully disagree. Like, this is a debate league where we disagree, we can get it on the clock. When we're not on the clock disagreeing, we should be able to agree. We should be able to find something we agree on. You know what I'm saying? And then move forward from there.
But it's going to be times where
we have the ability to affect the civility of conversation, right? Based upon the fact that we're a group of people who don't agree on a lot of things. So we can show people what it's like to respectfully disagree, or artfully disagree, based upon education, scholarship, all that type of stuff. And then also show them, look, we can disagree here, but where we agree, we can also do X, Y, and Z. Where people like some of them are not doing X, Y, and Z, because people do want to see unity at the end of the day, right? But if all they can see is a car crash, they're gonna watch a car crash, man.
Yeah, but I mean, I do think at the same time we are, like, again, as a media entity, you feel me? Like, we also need to focus on like making this entertaining. And niggas ain't really just trying to see.
Against that. I said using
hold on. I didn't say you did. I didn't say you did. Right. But I think ultimately though, that question, like, the question of unity is outside the bounds of what can be done in terms of how we engage this debate league. Because, like, niggas is gonna link up with who they want to link. Niggas is gonna link up with who they want to link up with. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think we need to be over here like constantly tearing each other down personally, tearing down belief systems and that. But listen, if we disagree fundamentally,
you and me are gonna be debating Malcolm X all season 4 for him.
I mean, Like we'll have a debate on it, but I'm not gonna see. You did that shit with them other niggas. I'm not about to debate you multiple topics over the same shit. We'll set up a debate and we'll do that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm spreading out.
All I need is one, bro. All I need is one.
Yeah, I know. I'll give it to you. You know what I'm saying?
So do y'all think that we are the first form of that separation by leaving the black church?
What is you talking
like,
about?
what
Dude?
does that cause division? No, I'm saying when we're talking about division, are we talking about division amongst black people in general, or are we just talking about division amongst Israelites?
Black church don't cause division because I can leave the black church and its ideology, but still work with black people who still attend that church.
Is that what we doing?
I mean, that's what
we should be doing.
That's what we should be doing because when
I'm just saying when I'm not being
I get you. Because when you say
my bad, I missed that point. What we doing?
Yeah, like what Suave said before. You want to repeat yourself, Blue, so Suave can you understand what you're saying before I say?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna just add a little bit to it because to me it just feels like when we left the black church, we pretty much made a mockery of it. Every day it was about how they didn't read the Bible. Every day it was about how they was how we made fun of them catching the Holy Ghost. We made fun of the music. We always swear to God it was a gay dude behind the piano. So it's like, to me, that was causing division amongst black people in itself. So how do I expect those black people to build with me after I just made fun of the way that they worship Jesus?
Okay, so like take this for instance. Minister Howe, and I'm not saying that none of his church members or he engaged in any of those things that you're naming out. We don't agree with Minister Howe on certain ideologies or certain teachings. We don't agree with him on, but we can build. Like we all came together. We've been to Minister Howe's house. Me and YARAH, we had been to Minister Howe's house. Me, YARAH, Anon, and was it DJ Black Charm? We all met at the cafe downtown in Atlanta, and we had a good time. We didn't come say, "Hey, man, look here, is the law done away with?" None of that. Listen, we came, we built, we came in camaraderie, and we came in fellowship, and we had a good time, and we left.
Now, how do you do that from group of people to a group of people?
Yeah, let me say that I think you answered that question earlier, Suave. So when you say like, what do we do since we all left the black church now? So how we now move? I think one of Suave's point was that when you say the black church, you stop at black. I don't have to deal with the church part.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I could just say you're black. You're black, I'm black, let's build.
Right.
Yeah, but right. I think though on both sides, even like not just for Israelites, but I think for Africans too, when we left the black church and created this type of community, they were the mockery and they are like they became the example of what we aren't. We're not them.
Well, like I said, I think that's growth. Like, like when we found out that, our parents was lying to us, we went extreme against them. When we found out the church lied to us, we went extreme against it. When you come up out of something, the first thing you do is you're disappointed at it. You get angry at it. Like, how did this? But then, that levels out the extreme and it's like, okay, that really don't even bother me no more. Let them people, do what they do. The main thing is this. So I can't listen to the person that's just now coming up out of that church hurt and say, well, this is the mentality, because it's just not. That's just growth. It don't matter if it's the church or school or gangs or whatever it is. Once you outgrow it, if it's not done healthy, you resent it because you feel like it held you back. It took something from you. You would be further ahead toward where you wanted to be if you weren't dealing with that. And that's just not always the truth. You know what I'm saying? So I get that mentality, but those people, and they got the rights to express that. But I doubt if them people still screaming that same shit. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not taking up their time. The only reason, sometimes I'll be like, man, y'all arguing because I want to get back to the information. People are getting back to the information, so them going to church on Sunday and tithing and it ain't drawing that power away. So as long as once again, it's just people looking at the church saying, "You got to change with me." You know, I don't think that's the overall mentality of people. Like, it's not, and that creates a necessary defense, like yourself, for the church to say, "Hey, they was the pillar of the community, the spine of the community. You know, y'all just got here." Well, so I just think it's just once we get that mentality, man. When you're black, that's what it's about. I think you just move different, bro.
And the thing about being and the thing about focusing on that blackness is it's not about everybody blackness looking the same, or everybody like attaching ourselves to everybody else blackness. Like, nah, there's gonna be places where we gonna fundamentally disagree. The thing is, just don't get in my way.
Don't get in each other's way. Don't make me. Don't make it okay to attack me.
Yeah, exactly. We don't gotta link up. We don't all have to move in the same vehicle. You feel me? We don't all have to be like,
we already are. You can't help it.
To a degree, yeah. To a degree. You feel me? But at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, we can have our ideological differences, you know what I'm saying? But we don't need to link up. Just don't get in my way. When I'm doing what I do, you know what I'm saying? Don't add to what the world already produces to tear me down just because my shit is different than your shit. That's it.
So what do y'all think is more disrespectful? What Sonetta do, or when we got an Israelite on the corner outside of a black church?
I don't think there's no difference. And I'm gonna be at 1,000.
I'm gonna say Sonetta.
No, I don't think there's no difference.
Because I don't know that church. I don't know. Some churches
need a black church, though.
Some churches need an Israelite outside of that motherfucker yelling. Some churches know what they do. They know what they do, bro. Everybody not righteous. Some people know I'm on bullshit in this pulpit. I want these tithes, and I'm gonna talk about you as a member if you ain't tithing right. I just put an ATM in the back. I need to see your W-2s. All of that shit. Yeah, you deserve an Israelite outside your church.
But that's doctrine wise.
That's
the issue with doctrine, though.
But see, so I'll say punish him.
Nah, man, because a lot of I've seen people get gypped, man, from that prosperity gospel or whatever. I was a part of the prosperity movement in the church or whatever. I was going to one of those things, man, and it's crazy. I feel where I'm coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, see, that's what I say when I say I don't see when I say I don't see no difference, it's just like, okay, at some point, we gotta look at it as, regardless if we believe the same thing or not. Listen, I don't care what religion you attach yourself to. Somebody got some bullshit going on somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? That's just the point of human nature. So it's up to you to find out who's giving you the less bullshit. Right? That's what you're gonna roll with.
And how is they bullshit coming about?
How they bullshit,
some people not intentionally bullshitting your ass.
Right. And that's because and see, that's the reason why you're not supposed to put your faith in man. That's why the book tells you that. Right? You're not supposed to trust man because man is prone to lead you astray. He's prone to tell you some shit. Right? That's detrimental to you. And so that's what my whole thing about this whole conscious community thing that we hear is that people oftentimes, hold on. What's good? So you trying to get in? Okay. I got a bunch of people. I got enough room here. I don't know why you can't get in here, but
it's full. I'll jump in.
No,
Put me in the back.
Okay.
Yeah, put both of them in the back since they so nice. More left.
I'll fall out, brothers. I'll fall out.
All three of them. Get all three of their ass out of here.
Peace, man, from the grace of the battle, man. Peace to y'all.
Peace, volume. Yeah.
Come on, Solar. I don't see you, fam. I'll drop the link again.
Just so y'all know, season 4, that y'all getting that black church work.
So you run up in that black church if you want to. You might get that Billy Roof.
Debate about the black church.
Yeah,
look at him. He's jumping on it right now.
Black church, the best thing for the black community.
Is the black church the best thing for the black community?
Whoa! Stop it! Hold on! I heard the debate. Wait, what? Huh? I need some
What-
points. Wait a minute.
Focus on the
better than the
finals,
black
fam.
church?
Kaz on the panel. Kaz on the
Hold on,
panel.
are you talking about the black church
Y'all
today?
niggas setting up a
No,
topic.
you stuck in the finals, bro. You ain't in season 4 yet.
Fuck y'all niggas, man.
Right?
I'm
This
getting
nigga
some of
like,
these
bro, you
points.
ain't got nothing to do with no
Get out our
season 4
sandbox, bro.
convocation.
Go ahead.
Hold on.
Hey, shout out to Solomon, man.
I want to clear something up with Blue. Hold up. Are you talking about the black church today?
That's money right there, man.
Or are you talking about the black church back in the 60s?
Man, you talking about the black
I'm
church?
talking about the black church, bro.
The black church as
I'm
we
talking
know
about
it
the
today.
black church. The black church.
Are you considering temples and synagogues churches?
Nah, I know what he's saying about the black church. I'm talking about the
No,
black
that's
church
the real question.
that is
Black
in right
church.
now.
Where they I'm talking about the black church where they speaking in tongues, falling out on the floor.
Are you
All of
talking
that.
about the Christian, the Baptist churches? Okay.
Where they exactly where they're still
So
in
why
church
you
right now till
why you
5
have
o'clock.
oh,
They
I'm gonna
won't
leave
be
it
out
alone.
for
I
3
gotta stay
hours.
out of that. I'm gonna stay out of that. I'm gonna stay out of that.
Yes,
Yeah, that was
YARAH.
that's finna
Yes,
start up a
head
whole nother
judge.
panel, man.
Stay out of the debate, head judge.
I say the black church is making a very general. So you can say black church period. We should return back to the black church.
I almost killed him early.
Yep.
Yeah,
Return
my
back
thing
to the
my
black
thing
No,
with that,
it's still that blue Yahukanan beef going on, huh?
Yeah, you
Y'all
know we
still ain't
got
get
a
over
lot
that
of them
shit.
going on.
blue and evil
We'll
blue.
talk about it, Blue. Go ahead,
Talking
let
about a
somebody
commission in the
take
building.
over.
And don't get it twisted, man. Why who left 56 up here, man?
I
Man,
did,
get
bro.
this nigga. You were here. But
Hey,
but the
hey,
thing is,
we still in the argument league. Let me know.
yeah, I think the black
Who's
church
that?
is the only one that's been allowed to prosper. So it's been allowed to gather the things that
Kick that nigga
anybody
down,
needs
man.
to be a community. See, the Black Panthers was better than the black church, but they weren't allowed to solidify, and you know what I'm saying? But easily at any point in time, the most orchestrated, structured, socially, dynamic, put together, you could just go to the church. You know what I'm saying? Accept it, good or bad. But I don't see no institution from the black community being able to develop to that point. And I think it's their allegiance to the higher power, the religion, the papacy and all of that shit. As long as they got the Bible in their hand, they got you. When you start your doctrine off another book, well, I'm gonna start it off, anything. Then that's attack. So yeah, Blue, to your point, I can easily see the church being the best thing we have, but that's only because everything else was attacked and destroyed. The black church is outdated. Like a lot of stuff that black people still hold on to. It's just we haven't critically thought and updated it, bro.
But see, I think that's our fault. Because
Okay.
I think we instead of us going into the black church and becoming leaders in it, I think we left the women on stuck in the black church and was like, I'm not fucking with that.
No, it's a
And it
reason
was,
why that happened,
Blue,
though.
hey, you know what
but
you
it's
got me
like,
thinking of right now, Blue? When
yeah,
you told Konsu that folks was riding around with their Bibles listening to gangster music, killing people.
And they got them Bibles in them windows, bro.
You don't remember that there, Blue?
Yeah, the black church transformed once, integration. Black men left the church. They left the church because it transformed. It wasn't really, less political. Certain things that was passed and made it less political. Certain things that you can't do that you could do before. So it became a less effective tool as we begin to integrate at the same time. So
The prosperity gospel, white evangelicals killed the black church.
well, yeah, I guess you could say they played a part in it. So to be political now is more so to get into politics. So the former people that was really part of the black church, the people that was using the black church as a political tool, now that they integrated, they could just become members of politics, and they still have a church foundation somewhat, but it's not as political as what it used to be. It kind of transformed because we decided to integrate. That was the objective, is for equal rights, equal opportunity. So we got civil rights lawyers and different things, and so the black church wasn't really needed to be political anymore.
Like I said, we decided to integrate.
Yeah, as a collective.
Niggas is gonna continue pushing this myth of integration.
I heard you, Yahukanai. I was laughing, bro. I thought my damn mic was unmuted. My fault.
Oh, yo, you said you heard me?
That nigga was like, Blue. I'm like, why you calling me? I'm laughing with it.
Yeah, I see.
I see the title. I see the title.
Check the chat, Swab.
When we had the black churches, okay, I got you, bro. We okay, I'm finna set up another. We had that close knit community. You know, the pastor was really like our dog. We like he would come over to our house for dinner, sit with our family. And then once he started getting invited to those higher up meetings, he couldn't come sit with us for dinner. He had to go down to Texas. He had to fly out to New York and sit with these white motherfuckers. And then you clearly see what comes back and sits in that pulpit. It ain't the same love, like family type of feel. Man, so I think that once that allegiance is made with the higher up, once our pastor is sitting with their pastor and the average person of the church is left outside the door, fuckery is going on.
It's a new objective.
See, that really
it's a new objective too. Like it's a new objective far as what we want. You know, like okay, equal rights and equal opportunity was what we wanted at that time. We felt as though there were certain laws that was passed that we were kind of okay, that's a step in the right direction. And then black people after that began to want prosperity. They wanted prosperity. Let's be real. They wanted the, so prosperity gospel.
Yeah, they wanted a piece of that American pie.
Yeah, so that's why that became more popular. You know, it became more popular because that's kind of what the people, okay, now that we have these opportunities, more opportunities than what we had before. So the opportunities are supposed to reciprocate into, forms of wealth or achievements, whatever, so prosperity gospel, that's why it became so attractive. And then you begin to see black prosperity in certain sectors of society. Blacks begin to become more wealthy, post integration,
we can't say they began to be more prosperous because it's like
a sector of black people begin to become more wealthy, bro.
Okay. All right. I ain't gonna push back on that. All right.
Comfortable.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. We'll say that. We can say that.
Yeah. We're not saying the whole. We obviously, it wasn't. We know that it was an illusion of inclusion. That's why they had to have these people there to represent this illusion. And those people, that was a form of prosperity. And so we, for the masses, that's a different story. But the idea still exists though, because if we're presenting this as, prosperity, the masses are still thinking that they are moving forward. If we're showing just like when Obama won presidency, we was all happy. Even the people that didn't benefit shit from what Obama, you know what I'm saying? I didn't benefit nothing from Obama, but I'm just happy to see that. I'm happy to see the first black everything, the first black this, the first black that, or the first black millionaire, whatever the case was. We began to see, and that was our, we was beginning to be satisfied with that. And on top of that, certain things that did allow certain people that they couldn't just do the things or segregate us the old way. So, that was taken advantage of as well. They couldn't play the old game, so they created a new game to play. Mm-hmm. But, so the church now is evolving, as a result of that, and so. But in terms of, I seen that the topic, the house that Esau built, the synagogue of Satan, aka the house of consciousness. I mean, that goes deep. That goes deep, far as with the it goes back, before, because what you seeing with the It starts with those teachers, you know, and this is just like the house of consciousness is like the kids that's like showing off in school and shit. That's what they are. You know what I'm saying? They like the kids that's showing off in school, and you're looking like, well, like, let me call their parents because that's not normal. That's what they like representing, like, you know, the whole thing. And their parents will be John Henry Clark, Asa Hilliard, Joseph Ben Yakin, you know, those people. And that takes you into another situation because they're now connected. You know, you read about John Henry Clark's relationship with Farrakhan, you know, and you read that John Henry Clark was going with Malcolm on a lot of those trips. And I talked about this before. Like when so that begins to open up another door, like who was actually the person that was in Malcolm's ear? You know, because really he was so articulate that, okay, yeah, you'll be better over here. Yeah, you can't, you know. So he began to evolve, and it was a lot of shit going on. So John Henry Clark didn't like Elijah Muhammad. He didn't like Farrakhan. So when you begin to see this anti-religious thing develop, you got to go all the way back into.
Bro, you Nation of Islam?
Huh?
So you Nation of Islam?
Now what you say?
You NOI?
Yeah, you can say that.
Oh, okay. You know they killed Malcolm, right? You know why they killed Malcolm?
Why they killed Malcolm?
Killed him because he knew that it was all a business.
New niggas, man.
All right, let's try to make this an easy transition over to the new
interview yet, bro.
I'm not saying Farrakhan doesn't know what he's talking about. Farrakhan does. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Have you set up your interview?
Yeah, he got an interview tonight. We can talk about that tonight. You can bring that up tonight.
Let's try to make this an easy transition. I just put the Zoom link in the private chat on the StreamYard, so everybody on the StreamYard should be able to hit it from there. I also put it in the YouTube chat. YARAH finna end this when I got the other one started.
Yeah, hit me up, YARAH. You know, we good. No.
All right, so the new live is started.
That's a good job, man. I'm proud of you, man. I ain't used to seeing you doing.
Well, I was waiting on you to finna come in here and tear this shit up.
I ain't used to seeing you doing nothing well. This was excellent, YARAH. I'm fucking proud of you, bro.
I was waiting on Taz to come in. But Sarnetta is see why you're attacking the House of Consciousness.
Nah, shit, bro. As soon as I seen the title, nigga, I jumped up there like, hell yeah, get them niggas, bro. Nigga, listen, I got your support. Go right ahead, nigga. Fuck them niggas.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. All right, the Zoom link is in the StreamYard chat, the private chat, and on the YouTube chat. So the other live is live.
That's what's up. Y'all head on over there. We'll close this
Same
down.
discussion, just titled it different. Don't worry about it. We right back.
Good.
Thank you, YARAH. Peace to you, man. Shalom, Black Power.
Man. Yeah. Appreciate you, bro. Shout out to the Argument League.
For sure.
This remote is not listening to me.
Everywhere I go, you know I got the cycle with me. And that's just how it go until my Lord and Savior get me. Got to know I'll always love you. Rest in peace to Whitney. My cousins got delivered, yeah, they used to push the Britney. And I remember when I couldn't even spend a penny. Went from being nifty all the way to having plenty. Now everywhere I go, it's feeling just like Christmas cause I have a girl. And I don't even know, but I just might take a trip to Nazareth.
Where we going, Phil?
Nazareth.
Nazareth?
Nazareth. Just got back from Nazareth.
Hey.
Got disciple with me like I just got back from Nazareth. Got disciple with me like I just got back from Nazareth.
Hey, where we going, Phil?
Nazareth.
Pipe up.
Nazareth.
Nazareth.
Nazareth. Just got back from Nazareth. Got disciple with me like I just got back from Nazareth.
Okay.
ain't y'all trying to say? Got in my heart, all of my X-ray.